3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
Live from the Play Show, yet not overly ostentatious studios of CBS Sports Radio here in beautiful New York City, sitting on top of the 10th floor of 345 Hudson Street. Welcome on in to a Wednesday edition of the Zach Gelb Show across all the great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM, Channel 158, the free Odyssey app, and of course streaming live on YouTube, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. 855-212-4CBS, number to jump on in, 855-212-4227. You could always get at me on Instagram, where I'm straight flexing, or via the good old cesspool of Twitter, at Zach Gelb. That's ZACHGELB. Got Stuart Kovacs and Moist Mike rocking and rolling with me all the way up until 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific. Mark Winkler is going to stop by for a little Winkler Wednesday. That comes your way at 4:40 p.m. Eastern, 1:40 p.m. Pacific. And then to kick off the final hour of the show at 5 p.m. Eastern, which would be 2 p.m. Pacific, Nyheim Hines, who used to be the running back in Indianapolis and Buffalo, and now he's going to the Cleveland Browns with the new league year about to get underway 59 minutes from now, but who's counting? And also, it's a little anticlimactic when we get to 4 p.m. Eastern because of this legal tampering window. We just now know all the moves that have been reported in the last 48 hours from Monday and Tuesday. They can now become officially announced by those ball clubs at 4 p.m. Eastern. I'm going to start off the show with a little NIL conversation. And college athletics is really the one sport where the coaches are the face of the sport. Like, if I asked you who's the face of the NBA, you would still say it's LeBron James. There could be other answers, but it's still LeBron James. I don't think we could get through 10 names without it being a player. Now, like the coaches in the NBA, that'd be the face of the sport. I guess you could argue with Steve Kerr, years ago, Greg Popovich, but the players are what drive the sport. In Major League Baseball, there's not a manager that drives the sport. The players drive the sport. In the NFL, I guess there's really only been one coach in the last 20 years that you could argue could be the face of the sport, but then it's overshadowed by his players. You could maybe argue two NFL coaches. Belichick for a long time, and then recently Andy Reid, but still you think of Tom Brady and you think of Andy Reid first. Hockey, with how much those coaches rotate, there's not a coach that's the face of the sport. It's always about the players. For years it was Crosby and Ovechkin. Now it's Connor McDavid. But in college basketball, the face of the sport for a long time was Coach Krzyzewski. Then it started to become Jay Wright. Both, though, have walked away from the game. Now, Coach K could say it's because of age. I think it's because of NIL and the transfer portal. Jay Wright, we know, walked away from the game because of the changes in college basketball. In college football, the face of the sport for the last 15 years was Nick Saban. Nick Saban, it was speculated, then it was confirmed last week in that ESPN article, and then he doubled down on it the other day when he was testifying in front of Congress. So now we're in a spot in college athletics where I'm not bashing the format. I'm not. I've been a big-time proponent and a big-time advocate for players and college kids having the freedom to choose. Because I know when I was in college, college was about taking risks, taking chances, and sometimes you make the right decision, sometimes you make the wrong decision, but it's about what you could learn in that 3, 4 year, 5 year period, whatever it is, when you're at that university. So I had no problem when we knew for years you would have some like student manager or someone that was lower level on your staff dropping off a bag of cash to some recruit to get him there. When that was illegal, I'm fine in now allowing a legal way for athletes, for student athletes to get paid. Like when I was in college, this radio network that now I have the honor of hosting Monday through Fridays from 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern, they paid me to be a college football radio stringer whenever there was a game or two that had national appeal on that Ion College football show that ACK used to do. So I could have, when I was in college, and I did, I was able to make some money. Not that it was life-changing money. It was to buy some, like a beer keg or something like that. Or maybe like an extra slice of pizza or a cheesesteak. But I was able to use my ability, right? Technically my name, image, and likeness, and it wasn't for a big price, but to make a few dollars. So I have no problem with a college athlete who not everyone goes on to go to the NFL or go to the NBA and play a sport professionally, where if they're popular enough where a car dealership or if a restaurant wants to sponsor them, I'm fine with that. But let's also be real about it. NIL is just a front to allow the old way that things were done to now be legal. Because a lot of this is, all right, some car dealership or you have some advertisement that's done. That's just what it's used as a front. But we all know what happens. Even though the schools aren't allowed to facilitate the deals, the schools know who they want. They make sure the people that run the collectives know who they want. And you got to cross your T's and dot your I's so you don't get caught and you don't get investigated. And you allow the collective through business opportunities to pursue the college athletes that you want. But there is a murky area about this, and it is the Wild West. Like, I acknowledge I'm for this, but there's really no kind of governing body here, and there's really no rules here where you start to wonder, which I think that was lost in the whole Nick Saban thing yesterday, because it's easy to say, oh, Nick Saban, you made all these millions on college athletes, and now you're bitching when they get a piece of the pie. Saban's not fully against NIL, but he's just wondering, are kids making the best decisions that's in the best interest of themselves? And you could argue that, let's just throw out a number. Let's say it's $40,000. That a school says, Zach, let's say I'm an offensive lineman recruit. We want you to come to Alabama. We'll give you $40,000. And the guaranteed, if you sign with Alabama, is $15,000. So a kid could say, I'll go to Alabama for 1 year, get $15,000. I may not even see the full $40,000. And then a year later, you go right back into the transfer portal and you're going for another signing bonus. And that happens. That's been happening in the sport. But if I'm chasing the money, I could be making the best decision for myself, or it could also backfire. Because I do think chasing the money and then chasing a professional career sometimes could lead down a collision course where I could say, alrighty, I'm going to Alabama, then I'll transfer to A&M so I could go get a combined $30,000 in 2 years real quickly. But am I in the right spot to be developed and to move my game forward that in the long run could go make me more money? But if I'm just a popular college athlete and I really don't have a great chance of going pro, yeah. Like, how many times has a kid become a sensation overnight where it's not a star player that hits a big shot at the NCAA tournament or you have a big moment, and in previous years you weren't able to capitalize off of that? So you absolutely should be able to capitalize that. The problem is, and this is always what I say with NIL, when coaches complain about NIL, they never look good. But NIL is here. NIL is not going anywhere. The transfer portal is here. It's not going anywhere. But we could also acknowledge that there's a lot of uncertainty. And all I could say is you're just hoping that the players are making the right decisions. But if you pursue to just chase the biggest bag of cash and it doesn't work out for you long term, you got to live with that. So I don't have a problem. What I'm saying is I really don't have a problem in the large scheme of things with NIL, with the transfer portal. I think kids should be able to make decisions and they shouldn't just be held hostage at a school because they decided to commit there when they were in high school. If it's not working for them, whatever the reasons are, they should be able to go elsewhere. Whether that's financially, personally, whatever it is, you should be able to explore other opportunities. But with that comes great risk. And with that, you could be making the right decision or you could be making the wrong decision. But what you keep on hearing from many big-name coaches, and it's the reason why Jay Wright retired, it's the reason why Nick Saban retired, it's the reason why Coach K retired, Roy Williams, the list goes on and on and on. I know you could use age for some of them, but I don't think those guys didn't want to continue coaching. I think they were just tired of changing the way that they were going to have to change when they were rooted in their ways for so many years. Like, look at a guy like Dabo Swinney. Dabo Swinney could have been the face of college football for the next 2 decades. But Dabo doesn't embrace the transfer portal. Dabo mocks name, image, and likeness. Remember, he said our program was built on God's name, image, and likeness. So let's be real. If I'm a recruit right now, even as great as the Clemson program once was under Dabo Swinney, am I going to really mesh with that coach? Am I going to really want to play for that coach when he's not really in it for me to make any money? Or he doesn't give that front and give that appearance off publicly that he's going to embrace NIL. Personally, I would pass on Dabo Swinney. But we'll get into who are the future faces of college football and college basketball in just a second. But let me play you two legends. Here is Nick Saban, legend number one, testifying in front of Congress, and he admits that NIL drove him to retire.
All the things that I believed in for all these years no longer exist in college athletics. It's always was about developing players. It was always about helping people be more successful in life. My wife even said to me, like right before I retired, and said, why are we doing this? And I said, what do you mean? She said, all they care about is how much you're going to pay them. They don't care about how you're going to develop them, which is all what we've always done. So why are we doing this? We really are creating a circumstance here that is not beneficial to the development of young people, which is why I always did what I did. And that's the reason that I always like college athletics more than the NFL, is because you had the opportunity to develop young people.
So Saban's annoyed with NIL and the transfer portal, but this is mainly about NIL for one big reason. It levels the playing field. It makes his job tougher because for a while he could build a program where you have the All-Americans on the first team, the All-Americans on the second team, and you tell the All-Americans of the second team that are younger to wait their turn. But now that kid could go there for a year, think they're making the right decision, go get a bag of cash to go elsewhere, and then go get more playing time somewhere else. So I could understand why Saban walked away. I can understand why some people are saying, well, coach, you made all these money off college athletes. He still put in an incredible amount of work, Nick Saban. And I don't think Saban is against players making money, but for Saban, he doesn't want the conversation to start about money. He's thinking about developing these athletes into pro football players. And sometimes, like I said, those ideas of making the most money in college and then also doing what's best for your future in the NFL, they could go down a road and they could crash into one another. So, I understand when people are going to be like, oh, this is old man Saban, shut your mouth, blah, 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 blah. But I don't think we should totally dismiss him because I do think his heart is in the right place, and I do think we need more guidelines, but the NCAA is never going to really dip their toe in those waters. Let's hear from Rick Pitino. So Rick Pitino is someone that will never walk away from the game. They'll have to drag him out because now he's coaching St. John's. He's on Part of My Take. Rick Pitino says he hates the transfer portal and NIL.
I'm not enjoying this. And I said it not as far as the team. I'm not enjoying what goes on right now in college basketball because it's about growing. I may be looking at 3 guys returning next year and I got to bring in 10. They all become free agents. And what I really don't like about where I'm at right now is we're sitting around meeting and saying, I'm hearing this guy from North Carolina may be available, this guy from Duke, Cincinnati, this guy from Wisconsin may leave, this guy from Ohio State. And to me, I was at Iona. The entire league, every good player in the MAC was poached by another school. And for someone growing up who's loved college basketball, it's just not something I like. I think Jay Wright got out of it because of that. And there's no correctable solution.
Yeah.
Unless they become employees where we can sign them to contracts for 2-3 years. I don't blame a kid to put his name in a hat. He's making, say, 6 figures and he can make high 6 figures. Why not?
Yeah.
We would all do that if we could. It's something I'm not used to, something I don't like, and it's not enjoyable.
So a point that he made there that I think doesn't get talked about enough is we're seeing now with the haves and the have-nots, the haves losing some of their guys because of NIL. But think about where Rick Pitino has been recently, Iona. Think about where I went to college at Temple. Like a school like Temple, their basketball team right now was 6th most wins of all time. Program's a joke now. The football team had things humming. The football team is now a joke. It's because they have no NIL funding. And also, you develop a player, look at Hassan Reddick, who was a walk-on, spent his entire career at Temple, then was a top 15 pick in the draft. That guy, after one good year at Temple, would have been poached by a bigger program, would have been thrown a big bag of cash. So the smaller schools now really don't have a place in college athletics. And in minus one sport, the NCAA tournament. If you could have a Cinderella run, like what you got at FAU or Loyola Chicago, George Mason, as we've seen throughout the years. But in college football, the small program, pretty much dead now. And there's not a place for it, and it's the haves and the have-nots. But getting back to the bigger conversation, with all these legendary coaches that are stuck in their ways and they don't want to adapt, and we're seeing them driven out of the sport on their own choosing, even though it's really because they don't want to change the NIL and the transfer portal. Who are the future faces of college football and college basketball. College basketball is such a tough one because it was going to be Jay Wright. Now he's out. Coach K is done. Samter said, what about Calipari? Calipari is polarizing. Everyone knows who he is. He's won one championship, though. And I don't know how many more years Calipari's going to coach. I think it's Danny Hurley at UConn. Big school, big brand, young, fiery, intimidating, polarizing. And I think 50% of the people love him, 50% of the people hate him. But now you got to win more. And he just won his first championship. And UConn is a dominant team. They could easily win back-to-back championships. So Hurley continues to be in the mix the next few years. He could become the face of college basketball. For college football, it's a great question. And I think most people would say it's Kirby Smart. I don't think, and I know SEC fans will be like, oh, I hate Kirby Smart just because he's the coach at Georgia and he's won 2 championships. But I don't think nationally right now the brand of Kirby Smart is really polarizing, where there's 50% of the people that love him, 50% of the people that hate him, which was the case with the Nick Saban. So I would say it's Kirby Smart. And there's a difference of being the king of the sport and then the face of the sport. But I do think it's open. And, you know, it's not going to be Ryan Day. Could it be Dan Lanning at Oregon? They got to win. Kalen DeBoer, I don't think he has the personality to be the face of the sport at Alabama. Like Lane Kiffin, I don't think you win a national championship at Ole Miss. But Lane Kiffin, if he got a bigger job, like if he got the Alabama job, he'd be the face of college football.
I got a name.
Yeah, go ahead.
What about Deion? Maybe not at Colorado, but his next step, if it's FSU or the SEC.
Potentially.
Deion has the charisma, the passion, the name.
He's got to win, though. That's the thing.
Yeah, but I don't think he has to win at Colorado. If he can go from Colorado to like the SEC or to FSU, Norvell's not going anywhere, but you know what I mean. Something like that.
There is a difference in us talking about someone a lot and then someone being the face of the sport. Like Deion is one of the coaches, Coach Prime. Let me be respectful. Coach Prime.
Sorry, I apologize.
Well, I am a believer, and Coach Prime knows that.
Believer or believer?
Both. I do like Justin Bieber.
Okay.
But Coach Prime is someone that we talked a lot about for 2 months. But I would not say that he's the face of the sport. But does he have it in him to be the face of the sport?
Not there yet, but
from a brand standpoint, he's one of the greatest entertainers of all time. But ultimately, you got to win. I think you got to go somewhere else bigger than Colorado. So who is the future faces of college football and college basketball? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. And by the way, I see this is a very popular topic in the YouTube chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio. No, I did not have to go to a funeral today. No, I did not have a job interview today. No, there's not a suit in the building that's making me dressed up. I was at a conference today, a radio conference today, the Barrett Sports Media Conference, and I thought I had to wear a button down to the conference. And you know what's really annoying? I just got this shirt sent to the dry cleaners. And wearing it since 10 a.m. this morning, I already feel like it's wrinkled, this entire shirt. You can never win with button downs. They always get very wrinkly very easily. And this is a tailored shirt. I think I've lost a little bit more weight because it feels a little bit bigger, and I haven't bought it this long ago. But right away, I just feel like it's all wrinkled.
So here's the question. When you say tailored, do you buy it off the rack and then get it fixed up by a tailor?
Yes.
Okay, so when I get my tailored shirts, and here's what I recommend.
Mm-hmm. Snobby Sam here. I
got a guy. He comes in from overseas. Mm-hmm. He just measures my body.
Wait, just to fit you? He comes in from overseas?
No, he has a lot of clients, but I go to see him. Mm-hmm. He comes in like 3 times a year. He measures your body. You pick out whatever fabric or style you want.
A lot of cloth for
and
your
he
boy.
makes the shirt around your body, as opposed to you finding a shirt on the rack and having it tailored to fit you. And I'm telling you, man, like, shirts fit me. You saw it at the Super Bowl, and you've seen me, you know, at some of these events when I wear the tailored shirts. They
Mucho
fit my
dinero?
body because
Mad
they're
Guapo?
made for me. Yeah.
How much? How much you talking for one shirt?
Well, so you usually get like a package, but I'll usually get like 5 shirts to 10 shirts, usually somewhere between $60 and $70 a shirt.
Oh, that's not bad. So it's probably like $120 for me because my shirts are double your size.
No, it's not about size.
No, okay. So size doesn't matter here, is what you're saying.
No, I mean maybe like an extra $5, but not significant. Yeah,
Gotcha.
and size. It's not the size; it's how you wear it.
So hook me up with your guy. Your guy will talk to my guy, and then I'll make sure that my shirt's a little bit more fitted. But I do feel good today wearing a button down. Maybe we'll get more button downs.
Often.
Let's not get carried away.
Sometimes you come in here with sweatpants and like an oversized T-shirt, and I'm like, dude, you know, you're a good-looking guy.
Oversized T-shirt. I don't think I wear many oversized T-shirts. I don't think I own any oversized T-shirts.
I've seen you in sweatpants. I've seen you with
Sweatpants, yes.
T-shirts.
And you bet your ass I will continue to wear sweatpants to work. It's a very comfortable way of living.
Well, maybe not oversized T-shirt, but you'll wear kind of like what I'm wearing, the polo shirt.
Well, you know what my problem is? I lost so much weight.
Yes,
that I have some shirts that are too big now that I still could get away with wearing them. And then, yes, some days they do look a little
And when
big.
you're sitting down, it's not terrible. But when you're walking around, I'm like, you know what? Size down a little bit. You look great.
Yeah, I appreciate it. 855-212-4CBS. 855.
I may or may not be hitting on you.
4227. Jeez Louise, keep it in your pants. All righty, we're coming on back.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. 30 seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Now back to the Zach Gelb Show.
All righty, rocking and rolling. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll talk about the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. By the way, did you guys see Skip Bayless's tweet last night? The comma, very important. Now, I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to say this on the radio because there's no punctuation on the radio.
I think when you say the sentence, you have to say the
Yes,
comma.
that's what I was going to do. Because I do not want that as a drop for Stu to use against me for the rest of our friendship and the rest of our working relationship that the three of us do have. So Skip Bayless is annoyed last night with his Dallas Cowboys. I actually think he's a fugazi Dallas Cowboys fan. Because how many times in that small kitchen that he has, and I'm sure his house is very big, and I'm sure he lives in a mansion, but his kitchen is so small, and you see him walk down that narrow hallway and throw the same jersey in the trash can over and over and over again. I guess you got to play the hits, but I do feel like the bit is outdated. So Skip Bayless last night takes to Twitter to voice his frustration with the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. And he tweeted from the Jerry Jones comments where Jerry Jones made it clear that they were all in this offseason. The Skip Bayless tweet was all in, comma, my ass. And that went viral. I feel like I had to emphasize my ass. But yeah, that's what Skip Bayless tweeted last night. So this thing blew up. It absolutely blew up. How many views do you think the Skip Bayless tweet of all in, comma, my ass did on social media last night on X?
Not as many as if the comma wasn't there.
You're not wrong. Obviously, the comma didn't really make a difference for me. Like, I get it makes a difference from a grammatical standpoint, but when I'm on Twitter, I don't read for punctuation. I just read, and then however the text comes up on the screen is how it just translates into my brain. But Samter, how many views do you think it did?
My guess would be 20 million.
20 million views. Stu?
I'll say 25 million views.
What is this, Price is Right? Come on.
Hey.
25 million. So that's 45 million if you combine that, correct?
Yeah.
Your guess and Stu's guess.
I'm guessing that both of us were way off.
68.1 million views.
Just wait till it gets to 69. It's almost there.
All in, comma, my ass. Jeez. Do you think when he tweeted that he knew what he was doing?
I mean, he is a former writer. So, like, you would think that punctuation
Does
and
matter to
grammar
him.
probably matter to him. However, he's been so removed from that, and he's become such a hot take, machine.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I almost want to think that he didn't think of that.
I think it was not intentional. I think this was unintentional. He's 72 years old. And I don't want to discriminate here based off age. But just with my father, who is 64 and turns 65 on June 30th, there's a lot of times on social media where, let's just say, older people think that what they're tweeting is going to make sense to everybody else. And then you see it tweeted and you're like, oh, they didn't mean it that way. Or it wasn't supposed to come off that way. And I think in this case, he was really just meaning to say, oh, the Dallas Cowboys, they're all in. That's what Jerry Jones said. And then he was just like, my ass, like baloney, BS, bullcrap. He probably should have just tweeted all in bowl bleep. But the all in comma my ass is the reason why he goes viral.
Listen, without the comma all in bowl bleep is still pretty funny.
When do you think, because it was an innocuous tweet, I would agree. I wonder when the light bulb went off and it was like, oh, aha, this is why I'm getting dragged on social media. But for Skip, I think this is a win. It's a win because how many times does he go viral and when it gets dragged in like an ugly way and he looks like an imbecile? Like at least here, I think this is just like a funny moment that everyone's just laughing at the expense of him. Like I don't think he loses sleep over this compared to maybe some other things.
No, but I think the reason why people are enjoying it and it's getting up to 69 million views is because people despise Skip Bayless so much, and they enjoy watching him make himself look like a clown, whether it's intentional or not. So maybe he does lose sleep over it, saying, "Man, why is this going viral? Is it because people hate me that much?"
Yeah,
and the answer is yes.
By the way, do we have our new breaking news sounder by any chance? If we could fire off that breaking news sounder, I have enormous breaking news. Go ahead, Stu.
We have breaking news on the Zach Gelb Show.
So there's been a lot in the news recently about Aaron Rodgers potentially being the VP candidate for RFK Jr. We have big Jets breaking news. Has nothing to do with Aaron Rodgers. The Jets are re-signing punter Thomas Morstead to a 2-year deal worth over $5 million with NFL free agency and the new league year officially commencing at 4 p.m.
You should be fired for that.
Why?
You should be immediately suspended, and Stu and I should take over the rest of the show after what you just pulled. The fandom in me that says I hate the Jets and I'm no longer going to be a Jet fan, part of me got excited for a second. That old spirit that was inside my gut, all those other Jet fans out there, their hearts leaped a little bit, and you just pulled that.
Well, I was inspired by the Skip Bayless tweet. Do a little trolling, see a little trolling happen, and then I had to execute some trolling of my own. Real quickly before we take the break. Guys like Saquon Barkley going from the Giants to the Eagles. Patrick Queen going from the Ravens to the Steelers. Aaron Jones getting released by Green Bay, immediate landing in Minnesota. I think this could be maybe the dumbest topic that we've ever done, but we're going to do it anyway. Does anyone actually fault those guys? Like, do you find it wrong to leave a team or get cut from a team and then go join the rival? I don't. Now, I like animosity in sports. I like rivalries. And I think there's some leagues right now where they don't encourage rivalries anymore. And I think the regular season product suffers because of it. But the Giants weren't willing to pay Saquon what he wanted. The Eagles were. I'm not faulting someone for taking more money. Patrick Queen couldn't get a deal done with the Ravens. The Steelers were willing to give him more than what he probably was going to get anywhere else. The Green Bay Packers literally kicked Aaron Jones to the curb. I have no problem with him winding up in Minnesota. Santer, you have a problem here with this?
There's something that is going away in sports. Rivalry is one of them.
Sure.
Integrity is another. It's fine to get the most money that you can get. But if you can get similar money and not go to a rival that you've supposed to have hated, a fan base, a town, a team that you've had to dislike and despise for years, go to the Steelers, go to the Chiefs, just don't go to the rival.
Yeah.
Right? It's just, listen, I don't begrudge him for getting the money. He wasn't getting it from the Giants. Leaving the Giants isn't the issue. But you can't tell me that those other teams that were looking for running backs weren't offering him similar money, like the Bears, weren't offering similar money to what he got with Philadelphia. And at the end of the day, integrity matters, and going to a rival like Aaron Jones did or like Saquon Barkley did.
They released Aaron Jones.
So, you're still going to a rival.
So?
Brett Favre playing his entire career in Green Bay and then going to the Vikings to end his career is blasphemous.
Let me ask you this. Let's say you dated a girl for 5 years. You come home one day, she goes, Mike, I'm breaking your heart, we're breaking up. And then let's just say 3 months later, her smoking hot friend slides into your DMs and says, Mike, I want to go on a date with you. You're not going out with her?
It's totally different. I don't have a rivalry or a hatred for this girl.
but she was friends.
I wasn't told
with
by
your
my
ex.
fan base and my previous team to hate this other girl.
It's similar. I think it's similar. I want to go to Ack here real quickly because I heard him scoff when we brought up this topic. Do you have a problem with what's going on in sports now?
No.
Oh, not at all.
With these guys, no. I brought up. I scoffed at literally kicking him to the curb, figuratively.
Oh, okay.
So, no, I agree with you.
From my vantage point, I said that. You're right. That's what I said. And then I heard a noise from Ack, and then he put on his headphones. I thought Ack was ready to go to war and kick ass on either Sam's side or my side.
No, just a grammatical
There was a video that came out of the Giants kicking Saquon in the butt, and he fell over a curb. So there was a literal kicking him to the curb.
Yeah.
So, there was that.
Ack is definitely a big grammar guy.
In the NFL, you can't hold a grudge against.
Would you ever tweet out all in, comma, my ass?
No,
if you were
I rarely.
frustrated?
You know me. I rarely tweet.
Yeah, that's true.
So, sometimes it's good to just, pause a second and either A, proofread, or say, do I really want this out there? Yeah. Many people would say yes. I'm not one of them.
Well, we know Richard Ackerman is all in, so let's get the latest CBS Sports Radio update. We'll come on back with the news brief. Here he is, the Ack Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch and save with Progressive save nearly $750 on average. Call or click today to find out if they could save you hundreds on your car insurance. Comings and goings continue in the NFL. Hunter Renfrow is going, released by the Raiders, who also officially ended the Jimmy Garoppolo era. Another wideout on the market after veteran Mike Williams was released by the Chargers, but Khalil Mack staying to restructure his contract. The Niners have signed veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks to ease the void left by Dre Greenlaw's injury, and they also acquired defensive tackle Malik Collins from the Texans. The Jets got offensive line help, getting another former Raven, acquiring Morgan Moses for a swap of fourth-round picks and a sixth-rounder, so this is a second stint in New York. The Jets also signing free agent John Simpson earlier in the week and have re-signed punter Thomas Morstead to a 2-year deal. Kenny Payne officially out as Louisville coach after just 2 seasons. Championship week continues in college basketball with 3 more conferences crowning their champ tonight in the Southland, Big Sky, and Patriot League. BYU advances in the Big 12, defeating UCF 87-73. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Hey, this is Bart Winkler. I've got a new show weeknights. Join me for the Bart Winkler Show starting at 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific. Only on CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Time for your daily news brief. We get you caught up on the rumors, reports, and reconnaissance from the day in sports.
It's time to Ask the Pros, where you, the listener, gets to ask us a question, brought to you by our friends at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Simply tweet your question at CBS Sports Radio or at Zach Gelb using the hashtag Ask the Pros. Be listening later in the show when we might answer your question. You can thank O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. All righty, remember the whole back and forth with Mecole Hardman and Sauce Gardner? Well, Sauce Gardner was on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark, Channing Crowder, and Fred Taylor. And Sauce Gardner responded to Mecole Hardman.
When I first met Miko, first thing I thought is like he talk a lot. If you really know what it is, what it takes to win, you're going to make sure you let the team know. The reason he couldn't do that is because he never earned his stripes. He came in the facility and just thought he had it made for him. Like, if you know what it takes to win, you're not going to go to practice and drop hella punts and then have excuses to why you dropping them. You know, you're not going to go in a special teams meeting and get cussed out by the special team coordinator. Like, it's just certain things that's not going to happen if you truly know what it takes to win.
I struggle with this one. Here's why. Because I lean more so I'm on the side of Sauce Gardner. But I think there's a lot of irony, even acknowledging Sauce Gardner is a 10-time better football player than what Mecole Hardman is. But Sauce Gardner basically lecturing Mecole Hardman on what it takes to win when you haven't won anything in the NFL. and I know it's only been 2 years, I do find that very ironic in a funny way. Like, Sauce elite player. McCole Hardman is not. Is that just Sauce's way of saying you have the championships, but without Mahomes and Kelsey and Reed, you don't know what it takes to win on your own? That's how I kind of took it, but I don't think that message can be coming from Sauce Gardner, who so far, young career, has won nothing in the NFL.
I mean, listen, Mecole came out recently and said the Jets don't have a winning culture. The Jets don't know how to win. He tried to come in there and show them, hey, I've won, but you guys aren't listening to me. You're getting these other guys, more reps than me. I know what it takes to win. And so if you're going to call it the Jets organization, call it the Jets culture, and say that they can't win, and Sauce Gardner's going to be like, listen, the reason why you weren't getting the reps was because you were dropping punts.
Yeah.
You sucked. If you think that you can come in here and tell us what it takes to win, then show us what it takes to win. You weren't showing us that. So I think it's a fair criticism from Sauce. It doesn't seem like it was personal of Mecole against Sauce. It was more Mecole against the Jets, and Sauce is just defending his organization.
The Jets have been in the news a lot this offseason. The Rodgers, RFK Jr. stuff, Deion Dawkins going after the Jets culture, McCole Hardman going after the Jets culture. This is shaping up for another disappointing season of Jets football. So C.J. Gardner-Johnson is back with the Philadelphia Eagles. He got, I think he was traded or released from the Saints. He played 1 year in Philly. They go to the Super Bowl, they lose. And then he had a very contentious exit. He wanted to go back to Philly, but then he did land with the Lions for a season. Now back on a 3-year deal with the Eagles. This was on Twitch a year ago when he left Philadelphia, and he lists his favorite thing about Philadelphia.
All right, my least favorite thing is the people. It's obnoxious and I can't stand it. The favorite thing, the weather was a dub. I with the weather. It was cold, but I with it though.
He just took a crap on the fans. And then yesterday had to issue an apology. I owe Philly fans an apology because the organization basically said, "Oh, we want you back. We want to pay you." But here's the thing. Philly fans will forgive C.J. Gardner-Johnson because he's one of their own once again. That's just wild. And in the background, I'm like, what are those machetes going off? And then I forgot that it's on Twitch, so there's some video game being played. Here is Adam Schefter, Shifty, as his friends call him, on ESPN on the Justin Fields not-so-robust market.
Now he's sitting there, and it doesn't look like there's a starting job out there at this particular moment. And so the teams that are looking at him would be looking at him as a backup. And would Chicago then get the value that it wants? And what does Chicago do about that? He fits in so many places. None of them make moves. And here he is back in Chicago, and the Bears will have to wait to see what opportunities arise. But it certainly doesn't seem right now like anything is imminent with Justin Fields.
Unless someone comes to the table and makes a great offer, we won't see a Justin Fields deal until after the first round of the draft, when more dominoes do fall. I've said this before. I think the Raiders should be in play for him, and I would consider the Seahawks as a dark horse. Those are two potential starting situations for Justin Fields. The Raiders could go starting tomorrow. I think for the Seahawks, you need Geno Smith to struggle a little bit. But if it's not those two teams, I'm starting to think that we're going to get to a situation where he's QB2. I do not think they're going to trade him to the Minnesota Vikings. Let's go to Jason and Travis Kelce on the New Heights podcast. They're very popular podcasts. And they were talking about Saquon Barkley landing with the Eagles.
You know Saquon is entering a good situation in Philadelphia. Social media has been nonstop saying, Jason, you sure you want to retire? And I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty positive, even though a little bit upset how he waited till I retired to make a move like this. But, it's fine. It'll work out.
The skill positions in Philly.
It's pretty good. You got A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert.
You have Pro Bowlers at every starter.
It's crazy.
Every starter on, really not even
Howie
the skill.
Season, baby.
Every
season.
starter on that Philly offense is a Pro Bowler. Every single one of them.
I got a little nervous there with that bleep. I thought we were a little late on that bleep for a second. But here's the thing. I don't believe Jason Kelce can come back. When you were that emotional at retirement, I don't think all of a sudden the next week you could say, oh, Saquon Barkley's back, so I'm coming back to join the team. But what happens if we get to like week 8, week 9, and let's say Cam Jurgens or Landon Dickerson on the interior of that offensive line gets hurt? Howie Roseman calls up the Eagles or calls up Jason Kelsey. Do you think Jason Kelsey would come on back and join the Eagles if it's for the second half of the season, Santa?
No.
Right? Once you cry that much at your goodbye press conference, I think you got to be done with the NFL. Here is Isaiah Thomas on the Draymond Green show on The Volume saying Steph Curry isn't a point guard.
When you define the position of point guard, on the Golden State Warriors, you are the point guard. You have more assists than Steph. You bring the ball up, you initiate the offense, you set the defense, you run the show. Steph comes off screens, he catches, and he shoots. And he's one of the greatest shooters ever. I won a different way. As a point guard, I led my team in scoring and assists to back-to-back championships. When I look at Steph, when he talks about the people that he's emulated, he talks about Reggie Miller, he talks about Ray Allen. But when you talk about the point guard position, the way I was taught and the way I think of it, for the Golden State Warriors, you're the point guard, and that's okay.
He's not wrong, Isaiah Thomas. And from the traditional definition of point guard, Steph is not a traditional point guard. But in the NBA right now, you don't have many traditional point guards because of the way, a big part of it is because of the way that Steph has just made this like a video game, has shot the ball at an unconscious level, an unconscious rate from behind the arc. So I get what Isaiah Thomas is saying, but when all's said and done, we're going to say Steph Curry was a point guard, but there's different levels of being a point guard. It was kind of similar with Allen Iverson. There was always those debates, is he a point guard or a shooting guard? For Steph, yeah, he feels like from the traditional value more so of a shooting guard. He emulates more shooters, and he's the greatest shooter that we've ever seen. But just this past summer, Magic Johnson was annoyed, and he said so to me, and he kind of went off on Steph Curry. And Steph heard that audio because I know someone that knows Steph, and Steph brought it up about what Magic said. And you could tell that it got under the skin of Magic Johnson that people were saying Steph is a better point guard all time than him. Now, I don't believe he is, but that conversation's already happening. So I don't think 10, 15 years from now, people are going to say, oh, yeah, Steph wasn't a point guard. But there is old school, new school ways of being a point guard. All righty, that is the news brief. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. Let's take a timeout. When we come on back, oh, boy, you thought it was one thing already with Dak Prescott's brother. Now there are more tweets from Dak Prescott's brother. I've always said this, and I've told this to my family as well. I'm not comparing myself to Dak Prescott because I don't have as much fame as Dak Prescott. But I always tell my family, even if your heart's in the right place and you're trying to defend me, don't do it. Because I don't think it ever looks good for an athlete or a public figure to have their family talking crap about a place they work with or crap about their fans, even if it's because some not so nice things are being said about your loved one. So we'll get into Dak Prescott's brother and why the Cowboys are all in, comma, my ass when we return.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. 3 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, hour number 2 of our radio program. It is 4 o'clock straight up. The new league year is here. Happy new league year for the 2024 NFL season. It is officially upon us. We already have the biggest loser of the NFL free agency so far, because even though it's 4 o'clock straight up and the new league year has commenced, we already know probably about 80%. That could be a big number, but around 80%, I would guesstimate the Zach Gelb math, which take it with a grain of salt, of the big-time free agency moves that have already been made because of the legal tampering window that did occur on Monday and Tuesday. And do you hear that? Crickets, crickets, crickets. That's what the Dallas Cowboys have done so far. the drama Dallas choking Cowboys are already the biggest losers of free agency because they have literally done nothing. And not only that, you have the star quarterback's brother going after the front office. I'm really tired of Dak Prescott's brother. And I usually don't like to attack family members because I understand most of what Dak Prescott's brother probably that he said in the past is rooted in what he thinks is in the best interest of his brother in Dak Prescott. But what he did the other day is just really stupid. And there's no defending what Dak Prescott's brother Tad did the other day. Quite frankly, he comes off as Turd Prescott when he tweets what he did tweet. So if it wasn't clear already, it is now. The Eagles have the best front office in the NFL. Hashtag, how about them Cowboys? What are you trying to accomplish? And you know what? I would usually feel bad about calling someone's family member Turd Prescott, but that's what I'm going to call Dak's brother now. Turd Prescott. Because you're acting like a turd. And I'm someone that always likes to poke fun at the drama Dallas choking Cowboys. But why are you going after the Cowboys? They're about to pay your brother an enormous amount of money. In all likelihood, they're going to extend him either this offseason or they'll extend him next offseason when he's a free agent. They've already paid him a lot of money, a lot of cash. So why poke the bear here? Why go after the front office and basically the fan base when you say, how about them Cowboys? And this is how you know it's a stupid tweet. Because I'm now defending the Cowboys front office and the Dallas Cowboys when they've done nothing so far this offseason, and their rival, the Philadelphia Eagles, have actually got better. Because Turd Prescott is going out there, and he's just trying to start a riot amongst the Cowboys fans.
Maybe he's doing that on purpose. Maybe he's reverse psychology to try to get people to defend the Cowboys.
No, it's because...
He's not that smart.
Let me be nice here. I'll go back to being nice. Because Tad Prescott is still caught up in his feelings from January, where I guess fans... And this is slimy behavior. When fans were sliding into his DMs and they were probably saying not so nice things about his brother and his family and all that because of the fact that the Cowboys choked to get in the playoffs. So I can understand why there's that frustration. You want to fire off a tweet in January, that's fine. But now in March, to basically incite a problem or a talking point for people in the offseason and go after your brother's employer, it's really dumb. It really is stupid. And back in January, he tweeted this out. Cowboys fans, why continue to DM me? Trust me. If I could get Dak to leave Dallas, I would. I, too, want him out of Dallas. The city and organization have been great to he and our family, but done with the drama and the so-called fans. But he loves this team and wants to bring it rings. Let me just, once again, reference that tweet. That's from January 20th, 2024. In that tweet, he's clearly annoyed with the fans. But also in that tweet, he said he's done with the drama. Well, if you're done with the drama, then why are you continuing to add drama to the situation in March? This was the other day when he tweets out, so if it wasn't clear already, it is now. The Eagles have the best front office in the NFL. You just tweet that out. All right, it will make a headline. I don't think it goes viral. I don't think we're talking about it if it's just that. But when you bait the fan base and you say hashtag, how about them Cowboys, you're looking for a fight. And that's when I can't defend you. I will somewhat defend you, even though I don't think you should respond publicly to it. When fans are going into your DMs and probably saying nasty things because your brother and the whole team didn't show up against the Green Bay Packers. Go, Pack, go! That I will defend you because you shouldn't have to deal with that. But when you tweet what you tweeted out the other day in March. Several weeks, months removed from the playoff game. You're just looking for a fight. You're looking basically to be a jackass. Where you're basically saying, how dare Cowboys fans go after me, but now I'm going to basically go after the fan base. It's very hypocritical. And it's just so unnecessary. Now, I'm going to just say something here. And I do not know Dak Prescott. I do not know what he does for a living. I don't know his financial situation. I don't know what he does for a job. You know, maybe he's very successful in his own right. But if he's relying on Dak Prescott for money, and if maybe he gets a check from Dak Prescott, it's kind of stupid to then go after the person that's about to pretty much pay Dak Prescott a king ransom contract once again. Santa, this just goes back to my rule here. I say this with my family, and I know it's not to the level of fame, and I say this to many athletes. When your family members say things on social media, I never think it usually ends well. Like, it's one thing, you post a picture on the field before the game, all right, go Cowboys, something like that, like family stuff. But when a family member is giving football opinions here, knowing who your brother is, it creates more problems for Dak Prescott. And I think Dak at this point is kind of numb to it all because he's been the face of the franchise for the last 5+ years. And there's been times where he's just said, hey, it's the Cowboys, and he's been in contentious contract situations and negotiations before. You know, Dalton Schultz did peel back the curtain a little bit from his time in Dallas too. So I think at this point, Dak Prescott has to be numb to it. But when Dak sees all this stuff, I wonder if he texts his brother, like, hey, I appreciate the support. I appreciate the intention. You know, just trying to be nice here. But, like, can we pipe down in the Cowboy tweets? Because, like, the Cowboys right now shouldn't be a story outside of that they just done nothing in free agency. But if they just did nothing in free agency, yeah, we talk about it. But when you do nothing in free agency and you add that in with the star quarterback's brother trashing the front office and praising the front office of a rival and baiting the fan base, it makes the Cowboys back in the news. And I know there will be people that will say, oh, Gelb, you're just looking for easy content. You're just trying to use the Cowboys to have you get through a segment of your show. Like, I don't look for Cowboys stuff. The Cowboys stuff just comes to us because they do this over and over and over again. And in one breath, this is how they want it. This is how Jerry Jones wants it. He says he wants to win, but he is more focused on all the headlines. So I don't even think the Jones family is probably that offended by this. But it's not about the Jones family. It puts Dak in a weird position. And, like, Tad should just be quiet here. And it's the offseason. We don't need your takes about free agency and basically starting problems with the Cowboy fan base, Samter.
I don't know if I'm just really skeptical or maybe I've just been around the industry long enough.
Yeah.
But I truly and honestly do not believe that these family members of players who say these things in public forums are doing it without input from that player. I'm not saying that Dak wants out of Dallas, but there's no way that his brother is saying he should get out of Dallas without Dak maybe mentioning at Thanksgiving, like, man, you know, like, I love the Cowboys, but I probably need somewhere else so I can actually win and be away from this pressure.
So
family members aren't, like, they're not there to sabotage your career. Right, they're probably looking to get clicks, but he's not trying to sabotage Dak's career and hurt the fan base and hurt Dak in the eyes of the fan base without maybe Dak saying, "Hey, listen, dude, like, here's kind of how I feel. Do your thing and kind of get that word out there." But plausible deniability. I have no control over my brother. BS.
So in some instances, you may be right. Like, remember when Odell's father put out can't say it's a highlight tape, the low light tape of Baker Mayfield and how many times Odell was open and Baker didn't hit him? Like, in that instance, I see the allegation, and then when I review it, I could see that coming from Odell Beckham Jr. But I don't think this is coming from Dak Prescott. I'm not saying in some cases that what you're saying is wrong. In this case, I think it's wrong. But there's another side to it. And the other side is it that you have a very successful brother in Dak Prescott. You are a part of that fame. You are a part, probably in some way, that fortune. And the power of your brother empowers Tad Prescott here to think that he's more important than he actually is. And I don't know Tad Prescott, so I'm not just going to compare him to Jackson Mahomes. But Jackson Mahomes has more of a following now than Tad Prescott. And Jackson Mahomes, I think, believes he could get away with whatever he wants because his brother is the star quarterback of the NFL and is one of the more popular athletes on the planet. And you see that at times with family members, that the success of one individual, then the family member claims that success and then thinks they're famous and thinks they could pop off about whatever they want, and there's going to be no repercussions here.
The one thing with Jackson Mahomes, he's a clown and an idiot, but you don't really hear him talking about Patrick. He does stupid things. He dances in stupid places.
Yeah, I also think some of the allegations made him have to quiet down a little bit.
For sure. But I don't remember, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't remember him speaking out about anything about Patrick. He just did stupid things.
Just dance on the field and do the TikToks
himself,
before
yes.
the games. Yeah.
But when a close, I'm not talking about like a cousin or a distant, I'm talking about a brother, a father, a parent, a sibling of some sort. When you hear them say something about their family member that is negative, I look at it as the family member has either told them, please get this word out there, or B, they've said it in passing, and now the family member is passing it off as their own
So what would Dak's gripe actually be? Because last year, the Cowboys had enough talent, and your entire team bleeped the bed in a big spot. What can you legitimately be annoyed about if you're Dak Prescott? I don't. You're overpaid. Now, you get paid what people want to pay you. I don't want people to differentiate that and confuse what I'm saying. But you are paid a great amount of money. You're on, quote-unquote, America's team. You're a good quarterback, not a great quarterback. You're not elite. You have CeeDee Lamb. You know, you had a top 5 defense last year, and the entire team didn't show up in the biggest game of the season. So, what, now you blame the front office? The front office last year did their job. They have to retool this roster. They're in a financially tough situation, and you got to figure it out with the salary cap. But last year, that roster, you looked at it, and it wasn't like, oh, they don't have a good roster. The players just, for another offseason, couldn't get ready for the biggest game of the year. So what would Dak's big gripe be here? That he would say to his brother, hey, trash the front office because the Eagles just got Saquon Barkley. And that's the thing. I think this developed too quickly for that conversation to even happen. I know you could say, oh, someone shoots a text or you're with someone, you see the reaction, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, I just think that Tad Prescott thinks he's more important than what he actually is. And he thinks because of his brother's success, he could just pop off, and it's probably rooted in some sensitivity, which I understand as a human, where you see your brother gets maligned a lot and he gets dragged a lot because the team always doesn't come prepared in the biggest game of the season. So I think most of him is him feeling like he could get away with more because of who his brother is. And not only that, it's him getting annoyed that people are criticizing his brother, where I think for the most part, the criticism of Dak Prescott, we'll say like, hey, you know, Dak the person is fine, blah, blah, blah. You know, we all know what he's been through, but Dak the quarterback is nothing special. He's a good quarterback. But because of the team that you play on, which has also allowed you to make a lot of money, yeah, you're going to be more criticized than other players in the league when you come up short. So that's just what I'm saying there. I understand what you're saying. I think in other instances, what you're saying could absolutely be true. I just don't think it's true in this situation with this particular example. All right, this is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. Calvin Ridley's still available. Justin Jefferson doesn't have a contract extension done with the Minnesota Vikings. Could we see Justin Jefferson be traded, and where will Calvin Ridley land? I don't know where he will land, but I have a place where he should go, and I'll tell you about that on the other side.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio. Here's Zach Gelb.
All righty, Zach Gelb Show, CBS Sports Radio. So Greg Bedard, who's a longtime Boston scribe, he covers the Patriots. He was just on 98.5 The Sports Hub in Boston, and he said the Patriots have made a substantial offer to free agent wide receiver Calvin Ridley. It's a lot better than the Jaguars, but Ridley, for personal reasons, really does not want to leave Jacksonville. So take that for what it's worth. You know what I feel like right now? I feel like Calvin Ridley is using my football team. He's using my football team to drive up the price from the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's very similar to how Tyreek Hill used the Jets, even though that was via trade, but it also had a contract component to it to make sure that he would wind up with the Dolphins and the Dolphins would pay him what he actually wanted. Now, I heard Tyreek Hill claim that the reason why he's not a Jet, did you guys see this story? This was a story last week. The reason why Tyreek Hill isn't a Jet is because he wanted Adam Sandler to call him to recruit him. And I guess the Sandman was a little bit busy and didn't have time to call Tyreek Hill, so he said, all right, I want to go to Miami. Now, I call cap, as the kids would say, on that story. But that's how I kind of feel like with Calvin Ridley. The Patriots' offer is clearly better. Jacksonville already made the move for Gabe Davis. They have Christian Kirk. So it can't be for a target reason why you would want to stay in Jacksonville, because the Patriots are going to give you more targets, but you also don't know who's going to be throwing you the football. And for whatever the personal reasons are, and I don't know why, and there's been a lot with mental health with Calvin Ridley, so I'm respectful to it, maybe just Jacksonville's a better spot for him. So if that's the case, what is the price going to have to be for the Jaguars to come on up to go be able to secure the services for another few years for one Calvin Ridley? Now, I respect the personal matter, and I don't know what the personal matter is according to Greg Bedard, so it's very ambiguous. But from a football standpoint, the Patriots are interested. You're trying to work something out with the Jacksonville Jaguars. And oh yeah, by the way, late last night you read that Patrick Mahomes restructures his contract to create $21.6 million in cap space for the Chiefs. Now, you know the Kansas City Chiefs, the world champion, the back-to-back world champion Kansas City Chiefs, have already inked Chris Jones to an extension. You also know that the Kansas City Chiefs are probably going to trade L'Jarius Sneed. Franchise tag, probably going to trade him, probably be a second-round pick, and then someone else will pay him. Maybe it's Tennessee. I'm just going by what some of the rumors are. Brett Veach should do something here. He should call up Calvin Ridley and see what the Patriots' offer is and give him something that's in the ballpark of that. Maybe it's not more, but in the ballpark. And could you imagine Calvin Ridley landing in Kansas City? The Chiefs are serious. The Chiefs, unlike the Cowboys, they're all in to try to go win back-to-back-to-back championships. That's not going to have Skip Bayless tweeting all in, comma, my ass when the Kansas City Chiefs say they're all in to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. Bringing back Chris Jones was a mega part of that. They've already checked off that box. You can't bring back everyone. L'Jarius Sneed, like I said, probably going to get traded. You don't have, though, a number one wide receiver. Right now, your best wide receiver is Rashee Rice. Yikes. Now, fine player, but he's not a number one wide receiver in this league. Calvin Ridley is a number one wide receiver. Samter, your Kansas City Chiefs are in the penthouse. And I've seen my team do this, where they maybe don't offer more money to the player, but if they're in the ballpark, if they have a respectable deal, that could be enough for that player to say, okay, I'll pass up at a Patriot offer that's more money. Or I'll pass up, the Jaguars don't want to come up in their price, even though I want to stay in Jacksonville. I'll pass up on New England, I'll go join Kansas City if they could just get somewhere in the same zip code or somewhere in the right ballpark. And think about how, look how the Chiefs are so tough to beat already. Think about how unstoppable they would be if they add a 1,000-yard, bona fide number one wide receiver in Calvin Ridley. That's what Veach should do with your Kansas City Chiefs, Samter.
I mean, listen, I don't know if he's a bona fide number one. I think he's like a 1A type of guy. But I don't think he's on that level of the Justin Jeffersons and the Tyreek Hills. I would love to see the Chiefs add like a star receiver.
It would easily be their best wide receiver since Tyreek Hill left.
Yeah, because for sure, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Travis Kelce's getting a little older. We've seen all the issues at wide receiver. If the Chiefs can add like a stud receiver, and they've got some money to play with.
Well, Calvin Ridley's really the only guy that's on the market right now.
They're going to have to trade L'Jarius Sneed, though, if they're going to bring in a guy like Calvin Ridley.
And the expectation is that they're going to trade Sneed.
Right. So if you trade Sneed, then you can make that move because they need to add like a star receiver. They can win with that one. We've seen it. They've done it twice now without a star. But if they had that star, man. Oh, man, that's like, 5 in a row. We're going to crush your Patriots.
I don't know if you're going to win 5
all-time greatest quarterback, GOAT.
Well, I think I just uncovered something here. Is the reason why you picked the Kansas City Chiefs and why they're now your team is because you were just such a disgruntled Jet fan and the Patriots owned you for 20 years and they were your father in a football sense, that you said, okay, the only thing that could maybe potentially challenge in the future the Patriots' success in their dynasty of 6 world championships of the Kansas City Chiefs. So the Jets can't win 1 championship, let alone 6 championships in your lifetime. Is that why you latched on to Kansas City? Because that's what it feels like to me with how you just said it.
I mean, the fact that you're a Patriots fan, it definitely doesn't hurt.
No.
Because now I get to root all in on Patrick Mahomes passing Tom Brady. So, it may have played a part. Now, I'll tell you this. I grew up, I was a Boston College football fan and a Minnesota Golden Gophers basketball fan. The reasons were, one of my good friends was a Notre Dame fan and a Indiana Hoosiers basketball fan.
Okay.
And so BC beat number 1 Notre Dame, and Minnesota crushed by 50 points Bob Knight and the Indiana Hoosiers. And so because I enjoyed so much ripping my friend...
You're very spiteful.
I became a BC Eagles fan and a Minnesota Golden Gophers Vashawn Leonard fan. So there it is.
How about that?
Yeah, a lot of my fandom, especially, as a college sports fan, growing up in New York where there weren't a lot of college sports, was spite. So, yeah, that's part of it.
By the way, talking about college sports, I'm going to the Big East tournament tomorrow. Going to the night session. So very pumped up for that. It's not the old Big East tournament, but the Big East is now back. I always love going to Madison Square Garden for the Big East. All righty, I got to make a Justin Jefferson point here. Justin Jefferson should be annoyed right now. There is no reason why the Minnesota Vikings didn't get this contract extension done last offseason. And I warned the Vikings. In all likelihood, that was Kirk Cousins' last season with the Vikings at the time. And now that's a reality. So I guess that you could wait here and you could see what happens after the draft, and maybe they take a J.J. McCarthy or Michael Penix Jr., and that intrigues Justin Jefferson. But Justin Jefferson told us at the Super Bowl that if Kirk was going to leave, he wants a veteran to replace him. And all you did right now is bring in Sam Darnold, and I don't think they're going to be able to trade for Justin Fields because of the complications being in division. And I'm starting to get to a point, and I love Justin Jefferson. I want to see him stay in Minnesota. I think Minnesota for a quarterback is a very attractive destination, but I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. And I know Kwesi Adofo-Mensah said they're not trading Justin Jefferson this offseason, but with this contract not being done yet, I would start to think about requesting a trade for the Vikings star wide receiver. And if I'm Justin Jefferson, I'm just going about how I would approach it. I would go into Kwesi Adofo-Mensah's office, say, let's get this deal done. If we can't get this deal done, then I'm requesting a trade, and the team I request a trade to would be the Houston Texans. Imagine going to dominate that AFC South. You have C.J. Stroud, who I think right now is the 5th best quarterback in football, and C.J. Stroud has a very good wide receiver in Nico Collins, but I think Nico Collins is an in-betweener of a 1 and a 2 wide receiver in this league. We know Justin Jefferson is arguably the best wide receiver in the sport. And from a Vikings standpoint, you go get multiple first-round draft picks. You don't want to lose a player like Justin Jefferson, but if he's unhappy, you could trade him at a conference to the AFC, and he could land at Houston. I don't think the Vikings should play around here. They shouldn't be waiting any longer. They need to extend Justin Jefferson right now, because you run the risk of Justin Jefferson being unhappy with the quarterback selection in the draft or wherever else free agency and the offseason plays out. And then he says, I know I'm going to get my money somewhere. I'll go get it elsewhere, and I want out of this organization. And if you lose Justin Jefferson, the Minnesota Vikings get set back for a very long time. because players like that don't just grow on trees. And he's one of my favorite players in the NFL. And I think he's one of the more entertaining players in the NFL. All right, it is Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. I know we got to do a little Winkler Wednesdays coming up in about 10 minutes from now. Just real quickly, let's go around the room here. Not what's the best offseason acquisition so far, but what's your favorite offseason acquisition? I will start with what happened the other day in Baltimore, and now it's official. Derrick Henry signing on with the Baltimore Ravens. Just from a look standpoint, Henry in that Ravens purple, I think, is awesome. And to see the shiftiness of Lamar Jackson paired with the physical, bruising, bulldozing running back style of Derrick Henry, I love that pairing. I love that combination. And it's almost as if I'm playing a video game. Like, when I play Madden come the fall of 2024, the first team I'm going to want to play with are the Baltimore Ravens, because in Madden, I love teams that have a mobile quarterback. And now not only do you have the best rushing quarterback in the NFL in Lamar Jackson, you get one of the best running backs in the game and just a dominant force and a dominant presence of one Derrick Henry. So that's my favorite offseason move so far. Not the best, but my favorite. Samter, what's your favorite?
All right, well, for me, it's kind of an underrated one, but a guy that I've talked to you about in the past on this show that I absolutely love, who gets no attention whatsoever, it's Danielle Hunter of the Vikings moving on to the Texans and going to Houston. This is a dude who had 16.5 sacks last year, 10.5 before that, 14.5, 14.5, 12.5. Per 17 game on average since 2016, the dude averages 13 sacks a season. You pair him with Will Anderson, who was the defensive rookie of the year and a growing stud, and you pair that with the offense that they're going to be having with C.J. Stroud. They just added Joe Mixon to that offense. Yeah. Danielle Hunter is going to be an absolute monster, taking away some of those double teams from Will Anderson or vice versa. And these two guys are going to get at the quarterback. They got Derek Stingley as a cornerback. This is a solid, dominating potential defense with an offense and a quarterback that could be one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks in the NFL in the next couple of years. The Houston Texans are building a championship caliber team, not like in 5 years, next year or the year after. This is a team that's going to make a run at the AFC Championship game and maybe even the Super Bowl.
It's funny you say that. I just did a sports minute on it. 87.5 career sacks for Danielle Hunter, and I called the Texans going into this season a Super Bowl contender. So, good take by Samter. Oh, man. Stu, make sure we delete that audio. We don't
hate saying that? Don't you hate it when those words come out of your mouth?
If Samter goes, we have a new drop on this show, just make sure that doesn't get into the system. What's your favorite offseason acquisition so far?
Another under-the-radar one. I really like Darnell Mooney, the receiver from the Bears, to the Falcons. I do. I'm telling you, Zach.
Hold on. So Samter goes Danielle Hunter. I go Derrick Henry. Nothing against Darnell Mooney.
Not the best. Favorite.
Yes, I was not expecting that to be the name, the third name, to be into this segment. That's fascinating. Go ahead, explain yourself.
He's a very good receiver. He's been a 1,000-yard receiver in the past. His stats aren't incredible, but he's been on the Bears, who have not been a great passing offense for the past 4 years. In his time there, they were actually the 32nd ranked offense in the league.
In their entire franchise history.
I think when you pair him with a Drake London and a Kyle Pitts and a Bijan Robinson with Kirk Cousins now as the quarterback, I think that is an offense that's going to explode, and he's going to have a lot more opportunities, and he's going to have a good year.
Wow. How about that? I was not expecting that. All
Darnell
right.
Mooney.
We will take a break on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. It is a Winkler Wednesday. I see Bart Winkler's already joined the Zoom. He looks like he's like a hostage right now. What the heck is up with Bart? He looks like he's being held against his own will in like some back room somewhere. So we'll get to Bart Winkler when we come on back, if he's still with us in 5 minutes. Update time first. Here's the Act Man, Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flag.
Well, the Chargers were well over the cap. They're now under the cap after releasing 7-year veteran wideout Mike Williams. But Khalil Mack is staying, restructuring his contract. The Raiders also released a veteran wideout, saying goodbye to Hunter Renfrow, and as expected, Jimmy Garoppolo as well. The Niners have released Eric Armstead. They did sign veteran linebacker Eric Kendricks to fill the void left by Dre Greenlaw's torn Achilles. San Francisco also acquired defensive tackle Malik Collins from the Texans. The Jets pick up tackle Morgan Moses from the Ravens for a 4th-round pick swap and a 6th-rounder, while the Eagles have signed Jake Elliott to a 4-year extension. Garrett Cole will miss the first 1 to 2 months of the baseball season after undergoing an MRI. Doctors reportedly did not find a tear of his elbow ligament. However, he is headed to see Dr. Neil Elatrosh. There are automatic bids, or 3 more, to be handed out to the NCAA tournament tonight, as the Southland, Big Sky, and Patriot Leagues will all be decided. BYU moving on at the Big 12 Conference with an 87-73 win over UCF. I'm Rich Hack.
Tournament time is almost here. 68 teams, 1 champion. Who will survive and advance? The best college basketball coverage is here. CBS Sports Radio.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. 45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
It's a battle for CBS Sports Radio. Zach.
Lethargic, putrid, pathetic. Quitters. They're quitters. What a joke.
Bart.
Something fun to talk about. That's what we do here. It's like, hey, guys, it's like we're just hanging out at a bar talking sports.
It's time for Winkler Wednesday. Only on the Zach Gelb Show.
Alrighty, Bart Winkler joins us right now on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. You can listen to Bart, of course, weeknights here on CBS Sports Radio. Many of these same CBS Sports Radio stations from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Mr. Winkler, happy Wednesday to you. How are you?
Hi, Zach. Good to be with you. How is everything?
Well, I'm doing fantastic. I'm feeling even better now that I get to see your beautiful face. Let me start you off with this. The Green Bay Packers, earlier in the week, they landed Josh Jacobs via free agency. With that being said, they also got rid of Aaron Jones, and Aaron Jones lands with the Minnesota Vikings. Your reaction to what did transpire back on Monday?
Well, let me take you back to a little hour on Monday called 2 p.m. to 3:15 p.m., where it looked like the Packers were going to have Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a pretty awesome hour. And then that went away. I'm happy to have Josh Jacobs. I think he's great. Last year was a down year, of course. But the year before that, he was very, very good. I think that he can provide what Jones did. Maybe even better as a receiver, might come more natural to him. Problem is, with Jones, as good as he was, and I do think he was part of the catalyst that helped open things up for Jordan Love at the end, the locker room stuff. He was a really loved dude. He was a great dude, very beloved. Still is a great dude, but he's very beloved and fans are going to miss him. So I think for like non-football reasons, there's going to be a higher demand for Josh Jacobs to perform. But you look at that move, you look at Xavier McKinney, Packers got better. They're trying to compete. They don't usually spend a lot of money on that initial day in free agency, but I think that they got better. I don't like seeing these guys, and I feel like it happens more in the NFC North with other divisions, but that's what I'm more familiar with. I know Saquon to the Eagles is a good example, but this whole like Jonathan Owens, he's a safety. Where did he go after Green Bay? The Bears, the Vikings, Brett Favre, Dean Lowry.
Zadarius Smith for a little bit.
Now.
Zadarius Smith.
What's that?
Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, Zadarius. It's like they all want to go, and I don't know. It feels very gross to me. But
wait,
maybe they just like, hey, what's the closest place to here? It's like when you get fired in high school at a restaurant, and then you're like, well, I got fired from that restaurant. I'll just work at the restaurant across the street.
So with Brett Favre, he clearly wanted to go from the Vikings first. So I understand that. I know that the Jets were in between. But someone like Aaron Jones, I can't fault Aaron Jones, who did everything right for the organization. They asked him to restructure again. He says basically no. He wasn't willing to go to whatever number they wanted him to. And then he is out there, and the Vikings give him $7 million. It feels weird because you're used to seeing him in a Packers uniform, and then he goes to the Minnesota Vikings. But I can't fault Aaron Jones for that. The team said goodbye to him.
I don't fault Aaron Jones. I fault the Vikings for being disgusting and pathetic and gross. This division.
Skull.
Look, people are gonna say, oh, it's just your Packer bias or whatever.
It is.
This division, though, what have they done? What has this division done in the last 15 years? They made 2 Super Bowls, one with the Bears and one with the Packers. The Packers in the NFC North or in the NFC Championship beat the Bears, another NFC North team. Otherwise, NFC North teams have made the championship game repeatedly. The Lions, Chicago, the Vikings, the Packers. They don't get to the Super Bowl anymore. This division's it's bad. It sucks because for the most part, there's the Packers who are really good at going to the NFC Championship game and losing, and then there's everybody else who's obsessed with the Packers. Now the Lions, I think, broke out of that, so good for them. But I'm telling you, how many times, especially with the Bears, how many times someone signs with the Bears and their first thought is, "Oh, great to be here today. We have 2 goals, win the NFC North, beat the Packers twice." Don't say that. Here's how Caleb Williams is going to be a buster now if the Bears draft him. If he mentions the Packers in his opening press conference, he will be a bust. Once they stop focusing on Green Bay, I'm not saying this as someone that's like, oh, stop looking at Green Bay. I'm saying this as like, for your sake, stop thinking about Green Bay. Only then will you flourish.
But do you think people still in the NFC North think about Green Bay with Rodgers no longer there? Now, they did have a very good season, and people are very positive in the way that they view the Green Bay Packers right now. But I still think people believe the team to beat in that division are the Detroit Lions. I don't think anyone's going to come out and say, oh, we need to win the division and make sure that we beat the Detroit Lions twice a year.
No, they won't say that because they're not obsessed with Detroit for whatever reason. But I do think right now Detroit is the favorite in the NFC North. I think the Packers are close. The Detroit Lions seem to have a full operation that's moving steadily on the tracks. We'll see how they respond from that awful loss. I think the Packers, it's going to be, okay, do you still get this version of Jordan Love that you were getting? Not that I expect a regression or anything, but you just, same thing. I heard you guys talking about the Texans. And I'm with you. Like somebody asked me last night, are the Texans a Super Bowl favorite? And I'm like, I don't know. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC. But then when you look at what they've done in a short time and the pieces they've added, they're going to be very good. So some of these quarterbacks, Love, Stroud, you really want to see how they continue to progress. And I think I answered a different question than the one you asked.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Bart Winkler here with us. We will only have 5 more minutes with Bart, and then this therapy session is up for the day. I am fascinated, though. Like this time next year, I do wonder how we'll be talking about the Texans and how we'll be talking about the Packers, because both of those teams last year exceeded expectations, and they were much better than what people thought. And you have Love, who looks like he's a good young quarterback. Stroud is looking like he's the 5th best quarterback right now in football with the impressive rookie season he was going to have. And as we've been talking about, both these teams were aggressive this offseason so far. Like the Texans getting Danielle Hunter is a massive signing. The Green Bay Packers getting Josh Jacobs, getting Xavier McKinney, they have improved their football team from a year ago. I just wonder, when you get into that year 2 after 1 year of success, are you able to not only replicate it, but improve off the success that you had the previous year ago?
Yeah, we'll see. And for the Packers, they're bringing in a new defensive coordinator, which I think should help. The bar is very low. With the Texans, I think their path, that AFC South, I still like the Colts' chances. I think Anthony Richardson was playing pretty well before he got hurt. Jacksonville, they should be a playoff team. They choked that one away. So just their own division is going to be tough. You know, a fun stat about the Texans that I discovered back in January?
Go ahead.
The Houston Texans have never played a wild card game on the road. Every time they've been in the wild card game, it's been at home.
Yeah.
And
Saturday, 4:30.
Yeah, same time, same channel. The Texans also have never played a divisional round game at home. They've always been the AFC South winner that's just bad enough to get a home game and then lose. So I would think that their main focus has to be, what can we do to get a higher seed? What can we do to maybe keep this momentum rolling at home? And then they've got more of an obstacle, I think, than Green Bay does around the division, but it's going to be pretty tough. It's going to be like, one other big thing we talk about a lot is you look at all these quarterbacks in the AFC. Now add Stroud to the mix. Stroud, Lamar, Burrow, Herbert, Allen, Lawrence, Mahomes, of course. Some of these quarterbacks are never going to get to a Super Bowl. And some of these quarterbacks are never going to, they might get there and never win a Super Bowl. There's a lot of good quarterbacks, and we got to, you play this out 10 years, we might be saying, wow, Lamar Jackson, 3 MVPs, no Super Bowls. Wow, Josh Allen made a Super Bowl, never won. It's really hard to get to the Super Bowl, especially when you have a dynasty in your conference.
What's the move so far this offseason in the last 2 days that you were like, wow, that's just a heck of a move. That's a sensational move. And now I look at this team, a little bit different than I did before the move was made.
I love Derrick Henry to the Ravens, which we locked in on the show as soon as I realized Derrick's middle name is Lamar. Did you know that?
No,
Derrick
I didn't. Is that true?
It's true. Match made.
Yeah.
So the way that he runs,
let me just ask you a question here. You found that out, or did somebody else find that out?
I was Wikipedia-ing.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Derrick Henry,
mm-hmm.
and it said Lamar.
Yeah.
And I told my guy Lee in Baltimore. We said it right there. We said this is happening.
Yeah.
And it did. But that's the move, because I think you saw how they stopped running in the playoffs. And obviously running backs are so devalued now that Jake Elliott makes more than all but 2 of them. But that's a big move. I think that's a big move.
Yeah, so that's my favorite move. We just did the segment right before you came on. That's my favorite move of the offseason so far. But I think the best one was actually Saquon. Because the Eagles, I was so doom and gloom about them, and it was so negative after the 10-1 start because of the way that they played down the stretch. I think Saquon brings some positivity back to the Eagles, and they can start to move on now, going out and getting a player like that from the disaster that occurred down the stretch.
Well, let's not forget, when you can get a guy to go do another move, when you can get a guy that had 40 catches and a touchdown in week 1 and then didn't score the rest of the season, when you can pay Darnell Mooney 3 years for $39 million, I mean, you got to do it.
Hey, just because I sometimes go after your producer doesn't mean that you could go after my guys. That doesn't happen. And I knew there's no way that whoever your producer is these days was able to figure out that Derrick Henry's middle name was Lamar. But I'll leave it there. I'll let bygones be bygones, all right?
Again, whatever you two have, I don't know. I would like to see you guys as the undercard for Tyson Paul, but I'm trying to work on that. So,
well, you'd be looking for a new producer then, because I would drag his ass around the ring. And tell Shep, by the way, to stop trying to just get on this show by how many times are you going to say it? I've probably heard this 3,000 times on your show where he goes, it's gutless. It's absolutely gutless. That Gelb guy doesn't bring me on his show. Just absolutely gutless. Anyway, it's all love. Give Shep a big, fat, wet kiss for me tonight, okay?
I don't want to be the middleman in this. I'm not coming on to be the middleman.
Love you, Bart. All righty, coming on back with Nyheim Hines.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 3 minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show. Here's your host, Zach Gelb.
All righty, hour number 3 of our radio program. It is the Zach Gelb Show, coast to coast on CBS Sports Radio. The new league year is an hour in. So all the reported deals that were happening on Monday and Tuesday are now sealed, signed, and delivered and officially announced as of 4 p.m. Eastern. Still some big names that are out there as we gear up for the NFL draft. And a lot of people are wondering where Justin Fields is going to land via trade, assuming that the Bears do take Caleb Williams, number 1, and there is still a wide receiver, Calvin Ridley, who is available. We're waiting to see what's going to happen on that front. But now joining us, Nyheim Hines, who is now a member of the Cleveland Browns. And, of course, Nyheim is joining us today on behalf of Muscular Dystrophy Association for its iconic Shamrocks campaign for MDA Shamrocks. Donations of $35 or more will get people a free T-shirt, and people can go to mda.shamrocks2024 for more information. Make sure you give them a follow on social media at MDA.org. for more information on this campaign. Nyheim Hines, first off, congratulations. Thanks so much for joining us, and how you been?
Thanks, Zach. Thanks for having me on the show. I've been well, had some ups and downs, obviously, these last 7 or 8 months, but starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Had big news yesterday, so things are trending up. Rehab's going well and just working hard.
Yeah, let me start you off with the health, and then we'll get into the big decision to sign with Cleveland. Where are you at from a health standpoint right now?
I'm doing well. Started running 3 or 4 weeks ago, so should be on schedule to return before training camp. We're at training camp, and that's the goal. Want to go out there and get my feet wet before preseason starts, and get my mind, mental, and the playbook down so I can be ready to go. I'm excited to be there. I'm excited for the opportunity. Really great team, really good quarterback, and it's a playoff team. So I don't know what else I could be happier about than to have a playoff team want me, and a team with Deshaun Watson as a quarterback and Coach Kevin as a great play caller and coordinator.
Yeah, how'd this whole process kind of go about? So you're obviously, we're a free agent. Teams could start hitting up your agent at 12 on Monday, and it came together what it seems like rather quickly that you end up becoming a Cleveland Brown, and now it's official today. So kind of take me behind the scenes of your free agency process.
Yeah, so I got released last Monday. My agent let me know the Friday before that I was being released on Monday. A little bit sad, my time in Buffalo was short. I wish I was there a little bit longer. Wish I got to play a little bit longer, but that's just how the business goes. Have nothing but good things to say about the Bills and the organization, and thankful that they traded a draft pick and a player for me and gave me an opportunity. And then after that, 4 or 5 teams hit my agent up. Cleveland was, I believe, the first team to ask my agent how things look and if they could get me out there on Monday. So I was out there on Monday. A deal was offered on Monday, and we figured out everything Tuesday, and now it's official Wednesday. So it wasn't really that hard of a process. It felt a little bit like college, but I guess I didn't have to go on a recruiting tour, so to speak, because the first team that really reached out to me, I really liked. They really wanted me, and it seems like a perfect fit, and I think I'll fit in perfectly there.
And you look at this team, they had a very successful season a year ago, and they lost Nick Chubb because of injury. They lost Deshaun Watson because of injury. You kind of look at this team and say, man, if everybody could get healthy, you start to wonder then how good they could be, especially with being a playoff team from a year ago with all those injuries.
Absolutely. And the Browns, I played against the Browns several times, always have had a great defense. Top 5 defense last year was the number 1 defense. So it's just on our side of the ball. We got to pick it up offensively. Got to stay healthy. Nick and Deshaun, hopefully they're coming back, myself as well. And let's stay healthy so we can do something. It's a great division. The AFC North is one of the toughest, if not the best division in football. So we know what we have to do, and we know if we can do well in that division, we know we're well off in the playoffs. So that's really the focus, is getting healthy. Ken Dorsey from the Bills, my former OC, is there now, so he's going to add some wrinkles, get the pass game going too, I believe. And I think that we're trending in the right direction. We just got to catch up with defense. We got to be top 5 in offense.
Nyheim Hines here with us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio, now a part of the Cleveland Browns, signing with them the other day after getting released by the Buffalo Bills. The quarterback, Deshaun Watson, you know it, and I know at this sport, 9 times out of 10, coming off a big football Sunday, we're talking about quarterbacks on Monday. We haven't seen Deshaun be great since 2020. What do you think your new quarterback could still accomplish in this league?
I mean, I think he can still play. He has a lot of ball left in him. He's young, coming off his shoulder surgery. So, I think he'll be just fine. In Indy, I unfortunately had to play against him 4 or 5 years, and I think he can return back to that form. He was a top 5 elite quarterback then. I think he still has it in him. I think, his last year, he had to figure out things and figure out plays. And I think, with Dorsey coming in and, him being another year in the system, I think he'll just grow from that. And I like to think he's going to get back to that form that I unfortunately saw a lot 2 times a year in Indy.
There's a lot of talent on this team, man. We talk about yourself. We talk about Nick Chubb. You have David Njoku still there. Wide receiving standpoint, Amari Cooper's phenomenal. They trade for Jerry Jeudy. Elijah Moore is still on this team. There's a lot of talent on this offense. We know what the defense was. There's really no excuses for this offense not to be a top 5 unit this upcoming season.
Absolutely. The sky is the limit for this team. We have to just put together offensively. Like I said, the defense was really great last year, so it's really, obviously, as a new guy, but not really going to be, say, a leader of the team, just making sure the offense goes. We know what the defense does, honestly, selfishly, as a punt returner. They were number 1 defense in the league last year, so that means a lot of people punted. So, great opportunity for myself, but as offense, we got to pick it up. Deshaun's going to get with us early, and we're going to get this playbook together, and we're going to start grinding. And the climb starts now. It started as soon as the season's over, and now free agency's going, and the climb starts for me with the Browns, with everybody.
Injuries are the nasty, unfortunate part of this game. You talked about how physically you're feeling well. How about the mental side of it? How has this past season been for you, and how do you kind of get through this to make sure that we see a big-time return?
It's the hardest year of my life. Just going from missing 5 games in my entire life, and my first game in 2022 and first practice in 5 years in the NFL just was tough. Just not playing, seeing all my guys out there playing, wishing I could help. Watching my team lose in the playoffs, like thinking, geez, I could help them win. But honestly, I was in a dark place probably until November or December, but even a little bit of January. But things have gone around. I started running. I started seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I got released. The Lord helped me find a team very quickly, and the rehab's going well. So from a mental standpoint, it was real rough, and I was real down. But honestly, the past month or so has been positive, and I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I know what can happen, and I know that I can do it to come back.
There's a lot of changes happening in Buffalo, right? You weren't the only one that was released. They're in a bad salary cap situation. What do you kind of think about that current Bills group that still remains? Because they've been a team, right? A few years ago, they got to an AFC championship, and then since then, they kind of just been stuck in that divisional round.
I think they're still going to be a great team. Josh Allen, one of the best in the business. As long as you got him, you can figure it out. So I know that the Bills in the front office, they're going to figure out something in the draft and figure it out. They're going to try to get guys in there. I'm almost positive they'll return to the team they've been winning the division and doing all those things in the playoffs. So I believe that they'll continue to do that. Josh Allen's there. James Cook is there. The defense will step up. They always have. So I know that they'll figure it out.
Yeah, it's tough to win in this league. And we know Kansas City,
Very
right,
tough.
is this an unstoppable force right now, where even when they don't play their best, they still found the way to win back-to-back championships. Is it just as simple as it's Kansas City's world and we're all living it, or do you kind of sense something else with Buffalo why they haven't been able to take that next step?
I honestly, just being in the NFL, when I got in there and Patrick Mahomes started, it's kind of just like when Tom Brady was there. Just, it's no secret in the AFC. You have to beat him. And the people that beat in the playoffs went to Super Bowl, Joe Burrow and Tom Brady. So now, that's the standard. You beat them in the playoffs, you got a good chance. And any person who's not looking at it like that might see it differently, but that's the team that's been there. That's the team to beat. And we are fortunately and unfortunately on that same side. So we got tested earlier, but we know if you win, you can go to the Super Bowl. So that's how I see it.
Nyheim Hines here with us. Were you surprised? There's a lot of running back movement. We knew these guys were going to be available, but with how disappointing, let me say, the market's been the last few years for running backs, have you been surprised how quickly the running backs have been able to get their deals this offseason?
No, the running back's a dying breed, but the game is also changing, and it's a little bit different now because it doesn't matter what you say. You need a pass catcher. You need somebody there to check the ball down. Even we've seen guys who aren't known as pass catchers like Derrick Henry. You've seen what he's done in the past game, catching screens, scoring 80 yards. So I think the position might be dying, but the game is evolving, and guys like myself and honestly every running back is asked to catch the ball. So it doesn't matter if you're my size or 6'2", 220, you're going to have to catch the ball in a passing game and on third down because you need to be a security blanket for your quarterback.
If this was 5 years ago and you knew what you knew the running back position was going to be, would you try to play another position?
What? No, I wish I was 5 years younger. When I was coming out, all the guys were bigger. The guy from Miami, he's my size. I've seen in the past 2 or 3 years, I've seen the increase in scat back selfishly. So I always feel like I'm a little bit before my time. It's been great to see a lot of guys and running backs my size coming in the league making such an impact, like Devin from Miami. And I've seen a lot of guys, Kenneth Gainwell, a lot of scat backs who are getting a lot of love now that I won't say that I felt in 2018. So I'm really happy for the position in that aspect.
Now, before we let Nyheim Hines run a few more minutes with him, we'll talk about a few things that you're working with today. It's just coming up in a second. But I know that you're focused on your own and your own team and everything like that, and you had to go through this process as well. But when you see Derrick Henry, since you mentioned him, land in Baltimore, and you see Saquon Barkley land in Philadelphia, just how do you kind of process that? Because, man, with those quarterbacks and Hurts and Lamar Jackson, now you get a running back like that. I just don't know how defenses are going to stop him.
Saquon, I know everybody in that division defensively is upset because they knew he was leaving and he stayed right in the NFC East. I think that's going to be really good. He has the best offensive line he's probably been around. They do really good schemes up there for him. They do really schemes in Philly, and I'm sure they're going to have great schemes for him. And as far as Derrick Henry, Lord, I'm tired of seeing him on the other side. I thought I got away from him when I went to Buffalo. All jokes aside, Derek's a good guy, great player, even better person. He has Lamar, great quarterback. I mean, they're gonna be hard. They're gonna be tough to beat, and we got to see them twice a year. So we get to see and match up and see how we are in that playoff race. They're a playoff team. The sky's the limit for them. So it's gonna be great to have that test early.
Man, and the division you go to, I know you're happy you don't have to go up against Myles Garrett anymore and maybe get hit by him. But, geez, with some of the defenders in this division, especially with T.J. Watt in Pittsburgh, it's a tough division with a ton of defense.
Oh, it's a hard-nosed conference. I can say that I respect the AFC North a lot. Every time I played the Browns, the Bengals, every team in the division, it's the Ravens. It's a tough division. That Wednesday practice is a little bit different. You gotta thud a little bit. You gotta hit a little bit. You know that there's probably gonna be some junk talked in the game. So you just go ahead and you mentally get your mind ready to have a blue collar type of day. And it's a blue collar type of conference. I'm a blue collar type of player, and I'm excited for that opportunity to go out there and see what I can do.
Tell me what you're doing today with Muscular Dystrophy Association. I know this is a cause that's near and dear to you.
Well, first off, I'm excited to go to Cleveland because everywhere I've been with the Muscular Dystrophy Association, I've been able to meet families, and that's how I really got started. Just having a mother that has limb-girdle muscular dystrophy and not really having a friend or families or know anybody like that. That's the one thing that's helped me with my partnership with the Muscular Dystrophy Association. This is my 4th year as a national spokesperson, and today I'm here to talk about the MDA Shamrocks. It's the nation's largest fundraiser campaign for St. Patrick's Day. And it's really simple. Basically, you go to participating retailers. You can find that on MDA.org. But any participating retailer, you will see a Shamrock. You can round up to the nearest dollar or donate whatever you're willing to donate. If you donate more than $30, well, $35 or more, you'll get a shirt like I have right here with even a scan on the back that you can donate to. But it's really that simple. You can just round up or donate whatever you're willing to. And to find out more about that, you go to mda.org/Shamrocks 2024.
Well, it's a wonderful cause, and we really do appreciate you shining some light on it today. Before we let you run, what do you hope to accomplish this season? You talked about, obviously, the accident that occurred, the injury, and how tough it was for you this past year. But now starting to get back onto a football field, knowing your next destination, what do you hope to accomplish individually as you get set for this upcoming season in the fall?
Honestly, I think the first thing is just personal. I've taken time since my surgery. I'm working on getting my real estate license in 2 different states, taking classes in school, and lastly, just starting to work in the community. As soon as I get to Cleveland, I want to start meeting families for the MDA and just doing things around the community in that way and trying to be a positive impact. On the field, I just want to first off get through the season unscathed and healthy, have an opportunity to prove to the league I'm healthy and do whatever happens after this 1-year deal. And after that, just getting my catches. I'd love to be in consideration for Player of the Year, but there's so many things I would like to do. But honestly, start with me getting back and staying healthy and helping this team win. I would love to win a division.
If you don't mind me asking, because I remember when the story happened, it was a jet ski accident. Like, what actually happened that led to the injury?
I was with some people. Person wasn't paying attention. I stopped. They were right behind me, and this is long story short. It was like Final Destination. I was riding in the wake zone, stopped. Somebody behind me wasn't paying attention, and I got hit. And it was kind of really just the story of it. Very unfortunate. I was on a jet ski for about 3 minutes getting gas, and I was actually on the way back to the dock, and that's when it happened. So it's unfortunate, but I've learned from it. I know that I won't be on a jet ski or do anything like that until I retire, and I know what I was supposed to learn from it. I know that I won't put myself or my team in position to lose me for the season or for me to even go through this again.
It's unfortunate, but hey, I think you're going to have a good season in Cleveland. Excited to see what you guys are going to do with that team that is brewing. Appreciate the time today. Appreciate you informing us about the cause, and good luck and good health.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on the show, Zach.
You got it. There he is, Nyheim Hines, joining us on the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. You see how quickly that moves in the NFL circles. You're on the Bills, then you get released with a bunch of the changes they make, and now he finds a new landing spot in Cleveland. And that's a player with a lot of potential going from Indianapolis to then Buffalo, what he could do in the return game, what he could do coming out of the backfield. And you hear him speak, and obviously you only want to root for a guy, especially with the unfortunate injury that did occur. I believe that was like right over the summer, right before the start of the season last year, and you heard how tough it was on him personally. So wish him nothing but the best in Cleveland. Okay, it is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. We will take a break. When we come on back, Louisville has fired their head men's basketball coach once again. who are some brands in college football, college basketball that used to be iconic that now are saying, are they ever going to get their act together again? We'll discuss.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Zach Gelb Show is on the air across the nation on CBS Sports Radio. Here's Zach Gelb.
Wow. We have breaking news. It is the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And it has to do, let me see this correctly. Yeah, with Calvin Ridley. Stu, hit the sounder.
We have breaking news on the Zach Gelb Show.
So remember when we were told Calvin Ridley was basically deciding between going to New England or staying in Jacksonville? He ain't going to New England. And he's not staying in Jacksonville. According to Ian Rappaport, the Tennessee Titans are signing Jaguar star wide receiver Calvin Ridley, completing their free agency with a splash. Rap Sheet says it's a stunner. The 29-year-old Ridley gets a 4-year contract. How much do we think it's worth, guys? Samter, 4-year deal. How much do you think it's worth?
Let's say 21 a year. Let's go 4 years, 44 million.
Wait.
No, I'm sorry. 4 years, 84 million.
Yeah, I was going to say.
4 years, 84 million.
I was going to say 21 a year, 4 years.
Listen. My math is, in my head, multiplying. 4 years, 84 million with, let's say, 35 million guaranteed.
All righty. Stu?
I'll go 4 years, 75 million. A little lower.
4 years, $92 million. $50 million guaranteed on a contract negotiated by David Malgetta and Reza Hessman.
Well, I mean, there's no doubt as to why he decided to go to the Titans. Because they just signed Mason Rudolph from the Steelers. And so he wants to catch balls from Mr. Mason Rudolph.
You know what? I'm not going to tolerate the level of disrespect that you display constantly, habitually, to one Will Levis. Will Levis likes to eat bananas that have the peel on them. Will Levis likes to put mayo in his coffee. And I think because of those grotesque food choices, you allow that to prevent you from giving Will Levis a fair shot. Will Levis was solid down the stretch. I remember watching Amazon Prime, and Richard Sherman was saying, not that, he's the judge, jury, and executioner, but Richard Sherman was saying that they have a guy that looks like he could be a franchise quarterback. This move shows, and I know that you're joking a little bit with Mason Rudolph. I know he's signing there, but a guy like Will Levis, they're telling you with this move that they believe in Will Levis or they're going to put him in a position to succeed. Because we saw when the Dolphins had Tua, they're able to go get Tyreek Hill and they're able to go get Jalen Waddle. The Eagles with Jalen Hurts, before he popped off, they got A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Josh Allen, before he really put it together, they got Stephon Diggs. The Jaguars losing Calvin Ridley to a divisional rival to Tennessee. This is Tennessee saying, we are really going to find out if Will Levis is going to sink or if he's going to swim this offseason, this upcoming season. Because you bring in an offensive-minded coach in Callahan, and now you go get him a number one weapon in Calvin Ridley. And I'm not someone that usually likes to use the word overpay because it's not my money, so I don't care really how you spend it. But this is a fat contract. I was not anticipating Calvin Ridley to get a 4-year deal with $92 million in it, with $50 million fully guaranteed. So they're trying to see if Will Levis is their guy or not. And this is a big-time move by Tennessee. But, man, 4 years, $92 million, that's a whole lot of cash. But it's worth it if you find your quarterback because of this in Will Levis.
The only concern I would have is when you have a guy like DeAndre Hopkins and you have Calvin Ridley, I could be the quarterback of that team, and throw for 4,000 yards. All you have to do is throw the ball. And that's why, as much as I want to like Will Levis, I've had him on my shows. He sang on the show with us, with Maggie and Perloff about a year and a half ago before the draft. He's a great guy. I think he's a good quarterback. But when you watch the games, he just, when he was successful, he just threw the ball up to DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah, one game where D-Hop had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and then he just caught everything because he's DeAndre freaking Hopkins. And people wrote him off way too early, and he just made plays. But when DeAndre Hopkins was getting doubled, Will Levis, he couldn't do anything else. His entire offense was predicated on DeAndre Hopkins. So that's what concerns me is when you surround a mediocre quarterback with all-pro talent like Hopkins and Ridley, yeah, he's going to throw for yards. He's going to make plays. He's going to look good in that passing offense because who wouldn't? What NFL quarterback would not look good with those 2 wide receivers at their disposal? So I worry that we're going to see kind of a false flag here with Will Levis, that maybe he's going to look better than he really is, and the Titans are going to get caught in that no man's land because they're not going to be as good as his stats show that he is.
I think it's way too premature either way, if I'm being honest, to have an actual evaluation about Will Levis as a quarterback. Like, I can't sit here and confidently say he is the guy, but I can't sit here and tell you that he isn't the guy. He gave you a few moments last year where you said, okay, better than expected, better than I thought. But you look at it now, because you kind of forget that DeAndre Hopkins is even on that team, because it was a 2-year deal. But you have Hopkins now with Calvin Ridley. And they also signed Tony Pollard, too, who I think is a fine running back when it's a 1-2 punch. And they have Tajay Spears there. So you have a nice little 1-2 punch there. You're going to be able to get an evaluation on Will Levis this year. And that's the most important thing. And remember, it's not as if this was a first-round pick. You got him in the second round. So if Will Levis isn't that dude, you can still survive as an organization, but you do have an older wide receiver in DeAndre Hopkins. Now, you know Calvin Ridley's there for what? Probably 2 years bare minimum when you guarantee someone $50-something million, but he is on a 4-year deal. You're assembling a roster that I don't think the Tennessee's going to be a playoff team this year, but they could be a scrappy first-year team that could go win you 7 or 8 games. And if they do that this year, that's a win with the first true year of Will Levis starting. And it's kind of crazy. Like, look at Tennessee, and then look at the team I root for in New England. Tennessee just brought in a brand new head coach. The New England this year just brought in a new head coach as well. Look at the talent on just the offensive side of the ball that they have in Tennessee already. And look at the lack of talent that New England has. I respect Rand Carthon, and I respect what Callahan's doing right now, is they're not just waiting. They're not just being patient. They're not only going to just solely build through the draft. They're being super duper aggressive, and they're going and getting established names, even if you think they're a little bit older. And even if you have some questions about them, they are going out and getting established names already, and they're going to give their quarterback a chance to succeed, unlike my team that saw Mac Jones make the playoffs year 1. And then after that, they never got him a number 1 wide receiver. Like if the Patriots would have had DeAndre Hopkins, I would have been through the roof. They would have had just Calvin Ridley, I would have been through the roof. Because it's been the best wide receiver that they had there in quite some time. Now you got both of those guys on one team with Tony Pollard with another complimentary back. It's a nice job by Tennessee in a league where you got to get the quarterback. We'll still see if he's going to be the quarterback. But you could rebuild rather quickly in the NFL. And here's another thing. Tennessee sit in the draft with the 7th overall pick. What happened? You could go now 2 directions. You could even go 3 here. You could maybe get at 7 Malik Neighbors. You could maybe get at 7 a Roma Dunze. I don't know if he'll be there at 7, but it's a possibility. Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably going 4 to the Cardinals. You want to go get, I don't know if you need to do this at 7, but you want to go get a tight end? You know, maybe you go draft a Brock Bowers. But you could go get another playmaker, skill position player to add to this group with knowing that DeAndre Hopkins is probably only playing 1 more year there. Or you could beef up the offensive line at 7. Or maybe that's where the first defensive player in the draft goes. Because Chicago's taking Caleb Williams. Washington is going to most likely be selecting a quarterback. The Patriots are either probably going to trade back or take a quarterback. Arizona, I think, is taking a wide receiver. Chargers probably go offensive. The Giants probably going quarterback. Like, Tennessee is a team that no one has talked about leading up to the draft. But they could now double down or triple down on putting their young quarterback, who was a second-round pick last year, in a position to succeed. You already got Pollard. You already have Hopkins. You already now have Calvin Ridley. You could now either go protect it up front or get another skill position player, or you go get a defensive player, whoever the best defensive player in this draft is. There's a lot of flexibility there. And you're in a division where the Texans seem to be the team now. Jacksonville, I think they bounce back. The Colts, they've done a good job retaining Jonathan Taylor. They've retained Michael Pittman Jr. We got to see Anthony Richardson healthy. This AFC South, in a weird way, has become intriguing. Like last year, this time, we said the AFC South sucks. The AFC South, miserable. The AFC South, lifeless. Kind of looked at it like the NFC South. Wherever wins that division, that'll be the one playoff team, and you won't even think about the other teams. But all 4 of those teams now legitimately have interest. The Texans, you can make a case of Super Bowl expectations now, or a Super Bowl window with C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter. That's phenomenal. And D'Amico Ryans. They changed that thing and turned that thing around in one offseason. You then look at Jacksonville. Trevor Lawrence, you got to think, is going to bounce back. And even though you lost Calvin Ridley, you still have, at the wide receiver spot, the guy they just brought in for Buffalo, Gabe Davis. And then you also have Christian Kirk. You still have Evan Ingram there. You got to fix that defense a little bit. But Josh Allen's still in the fold there on the franchise tag. So you got pieces there. Then you see the Colts. The Colts were almost in the playoffs. If they would have just had John Taylor on the field at the end of the game, they could have made the playoffs. And they didn't even have their quarterback last year. And now Tennessee is slowly putting together a team where no one's going to say they're good, but they could be scrappy and they could build something with the names that they brought in on the offensive side of the ball last year.
So right now, knowing how good the Jaguars are supposed to be and how good we've seen the Texans become, and now with the Titans and now with the Colts, just very early preseason, offseason ranking of the AFC South teams.
So 1 to 4, who's going to win the division? Is what you're asking right now?
Yeah, just who are ranking them in order of who are the 4 best teams?
Texans, Jaguars, Colts, Titans.
Which is what it was before this signing, but it feels like the Titans are much closer to the Jaguars and the Colts now. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if the Titans finished second in the division at this point.
Put it this way. If you would have asked me last week, do you think Tennessee is going to be good or bad last year, this upcoming year? I would say bad. Probably say really bad. Now you see the way that this week plays out, I could say they could be average. They could be maybe looking like they have the potential to be a good squad.
Now, the other interesting part of this was the whole draft compensation for Ridley to the Falcons for the trade when he went to Jacksonville in the first place. Had he signed with Jacksonville before the 4 o'clock deadline today, a second-round pick would have gone to the Falcons.
Now they don't.
So the Jaguars had an incentive to not sign him before free agency started. Now, granted, teams could tamper, but the Jaguars had an incentive to wait until after 4 o'clock today. And it's possible, maybe, I don't know what Calvin Ridley was thinking, but if the Jaguars didn't care about that extra round of draft pick, maybe they would have gone a little harder to sign Ridley and made sure that the deal was signed before the 4 o'clock deadline. They may have lost. All the talk over the past couple days was how the Jaguars waiting until after 4 o'clock today was driving the price up for a potential Ridley deal.
But could the Jaguars,
he just got $23 million a year.
Could they afford that? They just paid Christian Kirk not that long ago at the wide receiver position.
No,
they just paid Gabe Davis. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
which is why, had they signed him earlier, weeks ago, before the deadline today, had they signed him before, like weeks and weeks ago, and just say, hey, here's 19-20. Maybe Calvin Ridley takes it.
Maybe.
But because they were waiting and all the other wide receivers were off the board and teams like the Patriots and Titans were desperate, the money kept going up to the point where the Jaguars couldn't sign him anymore.
But they could have agreed to a contract like wink, wink, hush, hush, and just wait until March 13th so we don't have to give up that pick. I don't think the pick really – hold on. I didn't think the pick really played that much of a factor into this. I think what it was, the way that I look at this, Jacksonville didn't give him a great offer. It was a fine offer, but probably not a great offer. New England gave him a sizable offer. For whatever the reasons were, he didn't want to go to New England. And it seems like just from the reporting of this, with how much Rappaport said this is a shocker, a stunner, it seems like Tennessee kind of came in at the 11th hour and just blew both New England and Jacksonville out of the water. And I respect Tennessee doing that.
But that's exactly my point. Had the Jaguars said, all right, here's a deal for $19 or $20 million a year, and they did this 2-3 weeks ago around the tag deadline, maybe they get the deal done. But because the Jaguars waited and waited and waited because they were trying to not lose a second-round pick, it allowed
Yeah, but that's
like
where my
Titans,
disconnect is. But my disconnect there is because, once again, I don't think they would have ever gave this kind of offer. And whatever they could offer, they probably did offer. And even if he was going to accept that, they would have just had him wait until this day. They would have had him wait. There's no way that they were going to give up that pick. And also, like you could have agreed to the contract behind the scenes and then just wait until this happened to then make it official.
No, but that's the thing is by waiting until this happened, you give a team like the Titans the opportunity to jump in. So that's why waiting until this moment was a terrible mistake for the Jaguars.
But they didn't have those resources to give that offer where it automatically makes him sign.
18-19, and maybe he would have agreed
I don't
to
know
it
if
back
they
then.
could have. I don't know if they could have.
I'm just
I
telling
honestly
you, all the talk is from all the NFL insiders was that it's a huge mistake for the Jaguars.
What insiders did you see this from?
This was from, I was reading this over the past 2 days on social media.
Are you reading on Deadspin or something like that?
No. From I'll have to go through and see exactly which guys were saying it. I forget. But I was reading article after article, tweet after tweet about how the Jaguars are probably going to lose out on Calvin Ridley because the price is being negotiated
People didn't
up.
expect him to come back.
But because they were waiting, not because of any other reason.
I don't think you're right on
The speculation was that because the Jaguars are waiting, the price is going to continue going up to a point where the Jaguars can't match it anymore, and they're going to lose him. Had they just said, hey, here's $19 million a year, $20 million a year, maybe they keep him 3-4 weeks ago. But now they lost that opportunity, and he's going to a rival. And the Jaguars are in trouble.
We'll agree to disagree on this one. I don't think Calvin Ridley's
This isn't my opinion. This is the opinion of people around the NFL over the past week.
That's fine. I think we're trying to use too much of our brains here. They could not have got if they would have been able to. Calvin Ridley wanted to stay there. He wanted to stay there, but they've already spent so much money on Christian Kirk. They then agreed to this deal with Gabe Davis. Once they agreed to that deal with Gabe Davis, they said, we'd rather have Gabe Davis at his price compared to Calvin Ridley at whatever he wanted. Now, here's the interesting thing that will determine it. What were the Gabe Davis numbers? I have not seen the Gabe Davis numbers. But what Gabe Davis signed for, clearly Calvin Ridley wasn't willing to sign for because they would have gave that money to Calvin Ridley, I would imagine. And now look at the deal that Calvin Ridley got. It's a complete overpay, but it ends up working out for Calvin Ridley. Update time. Here he is, the Ackman, Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flash.
Well, NFL free agent signings are official today, and there's still more movement today on day 3 with the Chargers needing to get under the salary cap. They released 7-year wideout Mike Williams, while also right now the Titans spending big. First, Mason Rudolph joins Tennessee, and then Calvin Ridley, a 4-year deal worth a total of $92 million with $50 million in guarantees. More wide receiver news. The Raiders are cutting dependable wideout Hunter Renfrow and, as expected, Jimmy Garoppolo. The Niners have signed former All-Pro Eric Kendricks with Dre Greenlaw coming off a torn Achilles. They released Eric Armstead, while the Saints will cut Michael Thomas in June after he failed a physical. The Jets acquire another Ravens offensive lineman, reacquiring tackle Morgan Moses from Baltimore for a swap of 4th-round picks and a 6th-rounder. Moses was a Jet before leaving for Baltimore 2 years ago. Garrett Cole will miss the first month or two of the season due to his elbow injury. He has gone to Southern California for another opinion. Louisville fires head coach Kenny Payne after 2 seasons. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Jim Rome here. Thursday in the Jungle, MMAer Sean O'Malley and Colts linebacker Zaire Franklin. Plus, What's Your Beef? Thursday, 12 noon Eastern, 9 Pacific.
CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Thirty seconds remaining. 15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Hey, this is Howie. And this is Nick from the Backstreet Boys. And you're listening to the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. And guess what? Zach is back. All right.
He's live. He's nationwide on CBS Sports Radio. This is the Zach Gelb Show.
So just getting back to this Calvin Ridley deal real quickly. It's $23 million a year. So let's just kind of reel back in what I think happened here in this conversation. So Jacksonville, and Calvin Ridley signing with Tennessee, if you're just tuning in, $23 million a year. It's a 4-year deal, $92 million. So earlier in the week, Jacksonville agreed to a deal with Gabe Davis. It was $13 million a year, $39 million over 3 years. So I got to imagine with what Ridley ended up getting, which was $23 a year, and Gabe Davis was at $13 a year, I would say the offer per year to Ridley was probably anywhere between 16 to 18 million from Jacksonville. And the reason why I say that is because the way that it was reported earlier today was it was between New England, it was between Jacksonville. New England gave a very, very good, strong offer. So if the offer that tops it was $23 million a year, I got to think New England was given $19 or $20 million a year. So if Jacksonville comes in anywhere between like 16 to 18 million, and that's all they could afford, I can't really crush them for losing Calvin Ridley. And they said to themselves, they're fine with losing Calvin Ridley when you could get Gabe Davis for $13 million a year. And don't get me wrong, I think Calvin Ridley is a better wide receiver than Gabe Davis. There's the hot take of the day. But it's not as if now Jacksonville is crumbling because of this move. You have still Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram, and now you have Gabe Davis. Your quarterback, the pressure is on Trevor Lawrence. This is not as if just because you lose Calvin Ridley to a divisional rival, it's like, oh, the sky is falling. We can't save ourselves. If that's the case, then Trevor Lawrence isn't a franchise quarterback. We talk about quarterbacks under pressure. I said Deshaun Watson the other day is the most under pressure. I still stand by that. But Trevor Lawrence is under a lot of pressure heading this season. Because this is now going to be his 4th year in the league, getting close to that extension territory. Year 1, wasted by Urban Meyer. Year 2, successful. Year 3, disappointing. This is a big directional moment for Trevor Lawrence in how we're going to see his career talked about and how people are going to project his career into the future. So that's just how I kind of think, just my guesstimation on how the contract did go down between Calvin Ridley and Jacksonville, New England, and Tennessee. But it winds up $23 million a year for him to wind up with Tennessee. It's time to answer Ask the Pros question of the day. It's brought to you by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Kenny in Louisville says, Zach, who do you think will be the next Louisville men's basketball coach? Did Kenny Payne write in this question? I hope not, after getting fired after 2 years. You could submit a question by tweeting at CBS Sports Radio at Zach Gelb using the hashtag AskThePros. Think O'Reilly Auto Parts for all your car care needs. Get guaranteed low prices and excellent customer service from the professional parts people at O'Reilly Auto Parts. I have 3 names for Louisville. 1, I think, is a dream. The other 2, I think, are very realistic. The dream, big-time candidate that they need to go get, or at least do everything in their power to get. And then, as long as this guy just wants to stay there, then there's nothing you could do. Scott Drew. Scott Drew's at Baylor. Baylor's a good job. He won a national championship there. You could get a better job than Baylor for a guy that won a national championship at Baylor, especially remember the circumstances that Scott Drew did take over in all those years ago. So Scott Drew will probably use Louisville to enhance his own situation at Baylor, but that's fine. That happens all the time in college athletics. So I'm going to think that you can't get Scott Drew. So when you can't get Scott Drew, the first phone call you need to make after that is to Dusty May at FAU. And I think Dusty May is going to be in a bidding war, and there's going to be a bidding war between Ohio State, who needs a new men's basketball coach, and Louisville. And we'll see which job he takes, because I think this is going to be his final season at FAU. Now, let's say Dusty May, I'm wrong, he wants to stay at FAU, or Dusty May takes Ohio State over Louisville. The call after that needs to be Pat Kelsey at the College of Charleston. He has done now in 2 spots, Winthrop and Charleston, he has done a really good job. But it's just showing you that right now, at a job like Louisville, Dusty May is a big-time name, went to a Final Four. Pat Kelsey, tremendous energy. 10 years ago, you're not thinking that Louisville's hiring someone like a Pat Kelsey, but it'd be a really good hire. But it's showing you where the Louisville job is right now. It's in a really bad spot. You look at teams that used to be great in college basketball, Indiana, Louisville, their jobs haven't been hot as of late. They've been rotating coaches, seems like every few years. In college football, we're far from the days of Miami being great. We're far from the days of Florida being great. Nebraska, obviously. Matt Rule's trying to get it right there. And it looks like Trev Alberts is about to go to A&M, the AD. So maybe there's some alignment issues there in Nebraska. And then you look at Notre Dame. Notre Dame has been good. Under Brian Kelly, went to a national championship game, went to another college football playoff. Whenever they get in the big games, they fall off. And Notre Dame has the appeal and the aura still. But I don't say that they're a great football program right now. Like the way we look at them, they could be great. But on the field, I think they're just stuck in that good category. A little bit different because Notre Dame's consistently in there compared to what Miami, Florida, Nebraska have been as of late. But you have some major brands that were legendary brands and still are big brands, but now they need the right guy in there. And I think if you can't get an established guy like Drew at a good program and one national championship, then a guy like Dusty May at FAU that got them to the Final Four is extremely attractive, and then also Pat Kelsey as well. All righty, that will conclude the Zach Gelb Show on CBS Sports Radio. By the way, Bobby Wagner, he is going to the Washington Commanders on a 1-year deal, the Dan Quinn connection. You may need an AARP card to play for the Commanders next year. With Bobby Wagner, Austin Eckler, Zach Ertz signing there, Marcus Mariota. They're signing some older dudes that have a lot of experience in the NFL, but I don't know how much more good playing days they do have in them. Fun show today. Like to thank each and every one of you, especially everyone in the YouTube chat, youtube.com/CBS Sports Radio, where you can stream us. And then obviously you can listen to us across all our great local CBS Sports Radio affiliates, Sirius XM Channel 158, and the free Odyssey app. So thank you, however you do listen to us and consume our content. Also, big thanks to my producer extraordinaire, Michael Samter, and always Stuart Kovacs. We'll be back tomorrow on a Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. We out. Bye-bye. Peace!